Thirsty as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I like to make sure we got audio, make sure we got everything. Video looks good, everything's nice and easy. If you don't already know, this is Kyle from TheDrinkPro. I'm going to let him introduce himself in a second. But before we get started, make sure you pour up your drinks, whatever you're drinking on tonight. The theme of the week and the month is obviously holiday drinks, so pour up your favorite holiday drink, whether that's a high rye like I just put out my video on 5 bottles that you need this Christmas. So if you have one of those, pour one of those up. Get something good. We are drinking 3 samples from each of us we sent, and we have no clue what they are. As a matter of fact,
we actually have 5.
Well, we have 5, correct. We're working with 3 as of right now. We'll see how the night goes.
But did I number them right? Did I give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, you gave me 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5 were in a separate bag. Yep.
Okay, that's right. So we're gonna do 1 through 3 first.
Yep. And then we'll see how 4 and 5 go.
Okay,
so I'm starting off myself. I just poured up some Michter's, get the palate going. Just your standard Michter's American bourbon, some good stuff. Cheers, champions. Haywood, what's going on? Brandon Peace, what's going on? And Timothy Porter, an old friend from the video games days. What's going on with you guys? So yeah, as long as the audio and video sounds good, I'm gonna pass it off here to Kyle. Let him introduce himself. All the plugs he wants to put up, because those are our favorite things to do to start the show, and let you take over.
Absolutely. I'm happy to plug stuff. Hi, everybody. I am Kyle, the Drink Pro. I've had a YouTube channel going on about 2 years now. It's kind of funny. I don't remember when we connected, a man here with Bourbon of the Week, but I took about a 3-week break not too long ago. And in the meantime, he has skyrocketed past me in subscribers, and he's making all those big money moves. So I'm happy to see it, man. I've been watching his stuff since when he was a small little growing channel, and now I'm the small little growing channel. So I love to see that. I love people rocketing past me. I really do. It's fun to see it, because I know you put in the hours, man. I know you do it the right way, and I respect the hell out of that. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the socials at TheDrinkPro. The only one that's different is I am on TikTok at _TheDrinkPro. I have not yet bullied the guy who has my handle into giving it to me. But yeah, that's most of my content is whiskey related, but I do cocktail videos, coffee videos. I've been getting really into some fun coffees lately, so I'm sure you'll see more content like that. But yeah, also on Patreon, patreon.com/TheDrinkPro. So got all the plugs necessary are right up front. Trevor's in the chat. What up, Trev? Good man there.
Yeah, I know you mentioned, like you said, that 3-week hiatus. It's crazy how YouTube will take, if you're posting weekly or posting twice a week, they love you, and then you take a week or 2 off, you get a little cold or something like that, they kick you right out. So it's kind of crazy how, like you said, just that little hiatus will do that. But you're back now. We're happy you're back and coming back with us here. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited, man.
No,
I took that 3-week break. Basically, I realized I wasn't having fun with it anymore. I wasn't having fun making this stuff. I felt kind of overwhelmed. I just bought a house and been a lot of things going on in my life. So I needed that time. And it was amazing how much I learned about myself in that time, honestly, because when you really put your mind to it and say, I'm going to sit down and reevaluate things, makes it a lot easier. It gives you some clarity, and then you can come back into something like this refreshed, ready, and honestly just ready to have a lot more fun. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like what it's supposed to be, which is drinking with friends.
And I've heard people who have gotten to that point. I haven't gotten to that point quite yet, but I do respect the fact that, and when we first connected, like you said, you had already been doing this for a long time, so I reached out to you to give me kind of those YouTube pointers, the video uploading pointers, all the little things that I just didn't know until you start to do it. My video screen was stretched at one point. Like, you just gave me a few of those little adjustments to make, not quite as much as the content, as much as the YouTube side of things, which was awesome. And that's how we connected originally. And I remember you were literally one of the first people that I reached out to on Whiskey Tube or Bourbon Tube, whatever anybody wants to call it. And you helped me out with that kind of stuff, and it was awesome. But like you said, when I first got into it, I thought it was, I'll just record a 5-minute video on my phone, I'll upload it to YouTube, and that'll be it. But it's a lot more work than just that, I can promise you.
Oh yeah, I mean, the engagement, like you said, the algorithm, rewards consistency, but everybody rewards engagement. The more you can post, the more you can connect. It's a balance, between those genuine, enjoyable connections, and some people get a little artificial with it. I won't
Right.
name any names, but I've had a couple of influencers that are pretty sizable, and Instagram in particular, more so than WhiskeyTube, but that were very surface, and it was disheartening. But
Right.
Dusty Dan's in the chat. What's going on, Dan? Speaking of good guys in WhiskeyTube,
I
Dusty
was
Dan is
just
here.
gonna say that. Speaking of good guys in WhiskeyTube, check out Dusty
I
Dan.
saw
Absolutely.
I saw Dan giving away crazy stuff. I'm not gonna name what it was, but on Instagram, he's a generous man. Generous man.
Absolutely. Multicasking also in here. Make sure you check them out. I feel like we're going to get a lot of good whiskey tubers in here tonight. So I will try to call them out as I see them. If anybody in the chat sees one of the other guys or something and we happen to miss them, please do make sure that you call them out. We have nothing but love for everybody on WhiskeyTube here. So multicasking and Dusty Dan's Whiskies Reviews as of right now. You do have the Bourbon of the Week glass. I have one Bourbon of the Week glass. I obviously am going to pour up the DrinkPro glass for one of these.
There it is.
And then, see, I get my biggest problem, and when I do blinds, I call this out all the time, is I mix up my glasses. So this is this is one of the things that I actually love, and I wrote on each one of these a number 1, 2, and 3. So then I can tell myself, put that back in that spot. I shot a video a long time ago, and I drank one, I drank another, I drank the third, and I switched 1 and 2 without subconsciously. I just didn't even know. Then I came back and I was like, actually, I like 1 better than I like 2. And when obviously I looked at what 1 was and what 2 was, they were completely wrong. And I was like, wait, I never thought I would like this. So these are nice. Again, in the chat, the thing that we're talking about tonight is Christmas, holiday, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you happen to, if you don't celebrate anything, what would you want this time of the year as far as bottles go, as far as gifts go to give to somebody else? So this was an amazing gift. Actually, I bought this for myself. Gift for yourself is fine as well.
Sometimes you got to treat yourself.
But this flight board is one of those things that not everybody has. It comes, I have 2 of them. I have the 3 and then I have the 4-piece one. So these are awesome. They're just fun to work with, fun to use, all that kind of stuff. So
I need to get myself one of those. That may show up on my Patreon in the future. I'm
might
just
have
saying.
to.
Yeah, those are great little things to set yourself up, and like you said, help yourself getting not getting confused. Especially like, it's easier when you use some glass from different people each time. Like I've got some from Virginia Bourbon. I've got some from, well, obviously I've got your glass now. I've got some from Old Carter, all over the place. But I like using I've got a bunch of my glasses, so I like just using those. Number one, because I can just put them on the screen.
Right.
But
exactly.
also just because I've got a bunch of them. If one of them breaks, I don't care.
Yep, exactly. I'm the same way. I try to use mine as much as possible, but I find myself having 37 upstairs that have to go through the dishwasher or get washed, and I'm sitting downstairs with like a rocks glass instead, and I'm like, I can't do a tasting with a rocks glass here, so time to do some dishes.
I've tried, man. I've tried. You just can't do it. And I will say that I'm glad you mentioned this, because a lot of people are scared to put Glens in the dishwasher. You can put them, if you get a real Glencairn, if it says the Glencairn on the bottom, dishwasher's no problem. Just top racket.
Agreed. They'll break. I've broken them. It happens.
Oh yeah. Well, they don't just break; they shatter.
Right. That's the tough part. It's not just a chip. It's the full thing. Lyle, what's going on, Lyle? Good to see you in the chat tonight. Everybody, again, we're doing. Should we pour up here? Should we pour up our first? I'm going to pour all 3. That way they can open up a little bit, and then that way.
That's smart. I will join you in that. I'm going to join you in that.
Everybody in the chat, let us know what you are sipping on tonight. I like to save a little. That way I can always come back to it if I really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
Sample 1, sample 2, sample 3. We're going to start with 3, correct?
Yes. Multicasting has been recommending the gift of a Patreon subscription to whatever your friend's favorite whiskey tuber is. That is a very good gift, multicasting.
I agree. That's actually smart. I didn't even think about being able to just like almost gift a 1-month subscription to somebody, but that's actually a really cool idea.
Yeah, that is. Dusty Dan, guys, in a few weeks we can set up another blind. I will set the samples for you guys.
Ooh.
Time and place, Dan.
That. You let us know.
Time and place, Dan. We'll be there.
Absolutely something I am interested in. Knowing what you have in your collection, that is absolutely something that I would be interested in. That's the hardest part. So I do these things with people, and if you look right behind Kyle here, you can see he's got some great bottles on the shelf over there. So knowing that, and I have some decent bottles up here, but I think we decided for the first 3 we stuck to some some more readily available stuff that we wanted to try, wanted to get in samples to each other. So I'm hoping nothing too crazy that I can't recognize, but at the same time, there might be some things in here that I'm not too sure about.
See, the funny thing is, I did not send you anything too crazy, and I'm like, I hope you didn't send me anything too crazy.
No, nothing too crazy. I mean, I have a few quote unquote crazy, I guess you could say, but even at that, it's not anything too crazy. But here we go. This is the thing.
If you I'll tell you right now, if you outclass me on this one, you're gonna get another package of that.
We both sent these a little while ago.
I will not be outdone
Outclassed.
like that. I'm not going to be out generosity. That's not a word, but it's fine.
It is now. We both sent these a little while ago. Obviously, we have the answer key. I don't have the answer key of what I sent you. So what I'm finding out that I sent Kyle is also a blind taste test to me. So I'm interested.
I found the photo of what I sent you. I think.
Okay.
I think it's the photo.
Okay.
I'll know right away. I'll know based on the first pour.
Right. We'll find out. What if I can't tell? What if I can't describe? So here's my big thing, and I've said this in a lot of my videos when I do blind taste testings, which I'm doing right now for my 25 days of Christmas thing. So I have the boxes behind me, and I had to remove a bunch of bottles from my shelf. And I have 25 bottles lined up in a row on each shelf, and I'm picking out one. Marissa's coming down, picking out one of each. So like if there's 1 shelf, 2 shelf, 3 shelf, she'll pick out 1 bottle, she'll pour it up, and then I'm tasting it and seeing if I can guess out of those 3 bottles which one it is. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's tough.
I like that. That's a fun experiment. I see a couple people in the chat. Aaron's got the single barrel rye. That's a tasty pour. Somebody else mentioned the Woodford rye. Multicasking. Trev's hitting the double oaked Woodford. Got some tasty stuff up here. So number one that you sent me, this thing is super grainy. I mean, it smells honestly like oh, you know what it smells like? Like lemon poppy seed cake. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like lemon pound cake or poppy. What the hell do you call it? Just lemon poppy seed cake. There's got to be another name for that. Whatever. Somebody in the chat tell me what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I don't know.
Multicasking says it looks like our color palettes from both of our scenes match up very well together. That we could be in the same.
Oh
room.
Yeah.
Who says we aren't? Who says Kyle didn't fly out here?
Right.
This one's throwing me off. I feel like this is something that I've tried before, but I have no clue what it is.
That tells me that the photo I put.
This is what it is.
Correct. Yeah, because I knew this was gonna happen.
I get very nervous. My most nervous thing that I get is I always talk about how I'm one of the few that does not like Elijah Craig, and everybody knows I don't like it. And I'm always afraid one day somebody's gonna send me an Elijah Craig, and it's gonna be my favorite. And I'm going to get very bad vibes from that.
Well, I will not disclose whether or not I have sent.
Lemon meringue pie, is that what you're speaking of? Not meringue, is it?
No, not meringue.
Sorry.
I always used to have this. It was like it was cake-like, and it had lemon. It was iced on top, lemon, very wet bread. It looked like a loaf with poppy seeds in it. Dusty says, would you want to try to guess bottle distillery proof and rank them from least to favorite?
On these? That's what we're doing?
I think
or on when we get together with Dusty Dan.
I thought he was saying when we get together with Dusty Dan.
I hope so, because I am not good. I could probably, if you gave me a wild turkey, I might be able to put it together.
Fran got it. Lemon pound cake.
That's Mama Bourbon of the Week in the chat, by the way.
I'm a friend, thank you.
Yes, lemon pound cake. That's what I was thinking of.
That's what it is. Let's do this. So Dan's going hard in the paint on this one.
He is. He's putting a lot of pressure on me right now.
And I agree that let's do that with Dan. We will do bottle, distillery, proof, and then rank them. I think what we should do tonight is proof, rank them, and then if you have a guess for the bottle or distillery, you can write it down, but that's not the goal.
All right. That's fair.
I think goal should be proof and rank.
We'll put down whatever information we think we can pull out, but proof and rank will definitely be the two that we focus on. And if we want to discuss some other things, I feel like that's a lot better. I like that a lot better.
Yeah, but the pressure's gonna be on when Dan's on the screen.
Oh yeah. This one's tough. See, this one, it's I like the hard part about this is I want to like go pick bottles off my shelf and be like, is and compare them because I feel like this is something that I've probably had or probably had something similar to. So like before, I've done ones where it's like, oh, this tastes like Basil Hayden and it's Basil Hayden 10-year, or it's Basil Hayden Toast, or it's
Yeah,
another Jim
absolutely.
Beam even, and you're just in that realm. As long as you're close, I feel like I'm doing well, but
Oh yeah. I mean, this is a lot of people underestimate how difficult blind tasting can be.
so hard.
If
Especially
you've never actually done it.
right, and especially like again something that I've noticed, I like continue to put out content with the same bottle or the same distilleries perhaps. So I'll drink a
Yeah.
bottle and I'll do a bunch of research on it. And I'm like, dang, this is Heaven Hill too. I just did 8 Heaven Hill products in a row. Everything comes from Heaven Hill.
The worst about that for me is our friends out of Lawrenceburg, MGP.
Oh yeah,
They are on everything, or they're blended into everything. It's
yep,
like if it's not Dickel, it's MGP.
yep.
But yeah, the one of the things that you're talking about, bottles for gifts. I think that's actually like a great rule of thumb. If you really don't know what to get somebody, um, see if you can find a variation on a theme. You know that they like, because especially with people that don't have hundreds of bottles in their collection.
Right.
Somebody's got, they like whiskey or they've got 10 bottles or whatever. Oh, they like you said, they like Basil Hayden. All right, get them the toasted, get them the 10-year, get them,
Yep.
a variation on a theme. A buddy of mine was asking for recommendations, and I found out his dad liked Crown Royal, and I said, well, you should get either that old Crown Royal rye, which is on my shelf somewhere around here, oh, right there, um, or get him the XR. This was right before they discontinued it, and he got a bottle of the XR, and he was like, "Man, my dad loves this stuff. He's so excited." I said, "Yeah, I
And,
figured he would."
right. And now it's discontinued, so find him something else.
Right,
Glad he
exactly.
loves it. It'll be the last bottle he has. Johnny Drama says wife makes a poppy seed bread here during the holidays with orange citrus glaze. That
That's the
sounds
one.
fantastic.
That's the one.
Dusty Dan whiskey reviews with the blind taste with the super chat, $5 super chat. I appreciate that. That's the one thing that I haven't. So me and Kyle from the Drink Pro here, we're talking about the streaming services that people use on WhiskeyTube and everything. And I use Streamlabs OBS, where a lot of other YouTubers will use StreamYards. And StreamYards has an awesome feature where you can just click and pop the super chat up right on the screen there, which is an awesome feature because you do want to recognize the people for sending out super chats and everything like that. Thankfully, it does
Oh
still
yeah.
show up in the chat here. I can't, unfortunately, figure out a way to incorporate that in our stream, but we do appreciate that, Dan.
So I figured out a way to do it with OBS, but and I don't know if your program could do it or not, but I can open a separate window on OBS, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds because I'm sure this isn't
Right.
interesting to a lot of people. But I can open a separate window, make that a window that's being added, kind of like what you're doing right now with me,
Yep.
and then that window will just show the chat. And that's
Okay.
not ideal, but it's better than nothing.
Right. This one.
Especially if you like chats on replay. I have a lot of people who don't like to have the chat as a side view. And
Right.
so if you can put it down small in the corner, they'll be able to see it on the replay.
Yep.
Johnny Drama. Wife's made's poppy seed bread here during the holidays with an orange citrus glaze. Ugh, that's just making me hungry. Multicasting said, now I want cake. I want cake too, man.
Right.
Shoot.
I just ate dinner and now I'm hungry for dessert. I can tell you that. This is a great dessert, though, right here. I can say that as well. This first one
Oh,
is
yeah.
really bothering me because it's throwing me off because it seems like something I have, and I can't tell if I basically
It's
wrote
so
down a
familiar,
number.
isn't it?
It's so familiar.
Familiar.
I'm writing down like a number of where, like in my head, I would rank this out of 10. So as I go through all 3 of these, I can be like, oh, this was a 6,
Oh,
this was
yeah.
an 8, this was a 9, and we'll figure out what's going on with it. Peter White could have been worse. He could have been searching for a CR Cask 16. The other thing about bourbon/whiskey that as I want to call myself the newcomer to the group, since I've only been drinking it for a year, I might have amassed a pretty decent collection in that time, but I don't know enough about it yet. The one thing that was the hardest thing to get into is you start joining these groups, you start watching these lives, you start talking to people. Everything has an abbreviation. And at one
Oh,
point,
yeah.
I don't know what they all mean. I can tell you, I just don't know what they all mean.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are so many of them. Like I know a couple of the secondary groups on Facebook. They have like Word docs just literally with pages and pages of these abbreviations for newcomers because they just get overwhelming. This I gotta tell you, now that this is starting to open up, this is getting really like sugary sweet, which I
Just
didn't expect. A lot of times those young grainy whiskeys they kind of stay in that realm, but this thing's becoming sweeter and sweeter, getting more into that icing realm.
Mama Bourbon of the Week saying, "How was the lasagna?" That's what we had tonight. So if you don't know, we recently had our daughter. She's pushing what November, December, almost 2 months now. She'll be 2 months on the 13th. So we've been dinners come few and far between, other than let's grab takeout and let's make like
Yeah,
breakfast for dinner. So Mama Bourbon of the Week made us some lasagna for tonight because we were
very
getting ready
nice.
for all this, and I love lasagna. Big lasagna guy.
Oh yeah, that's funny. I had spaghetti and meat sauce for for dinner. So
I can have it every
Italian
night.
is. Oh, I could too. All right, I gotta taste this thing. I've been smelling it for too long.
On number one still. I'm
I'm
about to
going
finish
slow.
number one because it's bothering me that much. I actually
That's okay,
smelled number two just to try to like get my palate onto something different nose wise.
man.
Number
Okay,
two is
this is
crazy.
really good. This is one of the better. I can tell it's really young. It's really bright. A lot of citrus. A lot of grain. It might be a rye, or at least it's like a high rye. May actually have some wheat in it too. This could be like a 4 grain or something. The grains are at least unusual, and I think it's man, this might not even be 4 years. This is a pretty young one. But it's usually with those whiskeys, they don't get that sweetness, which is why I'm so thrown off.
Yeah, I agree. Usually when you get those young bourbons, if that's what that is, it doesn't usually bring that sweetness forward as much as the other ones. This one here is just it's like I guarantee you we find out what this is, I'm gonna be like, I have it. I've drank it 100 times. I don't want to say something and then be completely off, but at the same time, I guess that's the fun of it. So I'm not afraid to throw something out there.
Well, and I'll tell you this, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I should have known,"
Yep,
when
guaranteed.
I guarantee it. I'm certain of it. Yeah, this is I gotta go back now. What did Dan recommend with
This
his?
is
Oh, that's right. Okay, one other thing I think we should do is I think we should write down what we think the retail price is for this
okay. I like that. I like
because
that.
I love playing that game.
Yeah, because then at the end of the day, there's no real right or wrong answer. It's just what would you pay for this in your mind?
Right, exactly, and then you learn what's a value pour for you.
Right. Yep.
Because I know some people like I would never in a million years pay $200 for some of the bottle I see people pay $200 for.
Right.
But I also know people that if you put it in a blind against some huge like BTAC level hitters, they would pick this, these bottles.
Yep.
So it's you got to figure out what your value is, and that's easy to do blind.
I think it was actually Dan who posted on Instagram today, if I remember correctly, somebody who wrote on one of his YouTube comments. I forget what bottle he was doing against Blanton's, where he was talking about something against Blanton's, and was basically like, listen, I like this bottle more than Blanton's. And at the end of the day, this is 100% a preference thing. You can tell me that
Yeah.
Blanton's is the best bottle in the world, and I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, because if that's what you think and that's what you love, then go out, buy Blanton's, whatever you have to do. I think there is a mutual consensus that it's not overpriced, perhaps, because it's kind of priced evenly if you get it at MSRP. As far as like overvalued and under oversaturated in the market of like, I need this bottle, I think we can
Yeah.
all agree that that's true. But if Dan, if you can remind us what bottle you had up against it, was it Russell's? It might have been like Russell's 10. I forget.
Well, I saw the guy in that comment because he mentioned something about Four Roses, and all I could think to
It might have
myself
been
was,
Four Roses. Yeah.
yeah, it's like if this guy was like shocked by Four Roses against Blanton's, I'm like, wait till he sees some of the. I don't know what Four Roses he was talking about, but if you get some of those single barrels at barrel strength, some of those are crazy good.
Oh yeah. The single barrel Four Roses are really good.
I got
Da-
suckered into the limited edition small batches that they do. Good
Right.
lord, those are good, man. Holy
Yeah.
crap! I I tried one. to the 2021 at a bar. It was a Four Roses barrel strength pick. Dusty said, yeah. Dan's. I always see Dusty first and want to call Dan Dusty.
I know, I say that too. Lyle
Dusty
says
Dan.
$40 is always the answer, and I'm gonna have to scratch out $40 now because I don't want to put $40 because Lyle just says that's always the answer. I literally have $40 written down here.
That's
But
awesome.
it's such an easy little, like bourbon usually runs like everybody has the videos where it's like under $30 or like 30 to 60,
Right.
and then anything
Right.
60 plus is your high end stuff, or at least for me, if I'm paying more than $60 for a bottle, I better really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I've gotten to the point now where it's a very rare bottle I'll buy without tasting first.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got enough whiskey in my collection that I'm not hurting for a drink.
Yeah.
So I used to really be into the collection aspect more than I am now, and now I'm really buying a lot more drinkers. Like, do I like this? Yes. I don't care what the label is. I really don't. It's like if I like it, okay, I'm buying it. That's why I usually keep JTS Brown on the shelf. It's like a $10 bottle, but I like
I just
it.
got a bottle of it. I don't know if I have it behind me or not. I just got a bottle of JTS Brown.
I saw that.
It wasn't
I saw you did a
terrible
video
for,
on it.
for
No.
$12.
Yeah, that's all day for that price point, and you can mess around with it. You can make cocktails, put it on ice. You can do whatever you want because you don't care. It's $12.
Exactly. What am I gonna do? Mess it up?
Right. All right. I gotta start getting numbers down now. It doesn't have any finish, so that also makes me think it's young.
I feel like we both started off with kind of I said for mine, I'll tell you my proof later. Or should we say the proofs now? Do we want to guess on proofs now just to throw it out there?
I mean, I don't.
I said 94 proof on mine. I think it's in that 94.
Okay.
The hard part is I wanted to, I feel like nobody makes a 94 proof. It's always like 94.4 or 94.2. But I'm just going to say 94 proof. I said it's light. It's light in the flavor, and there's not a lot of sweetness on it. So I don't know if it's younger lacking sweetness or if it's a higher rye lacking sweetness. Usually an older bourbon, like we talked about before, has that sweetness on there, at least at some point, unless they're trying to get rid of it altogether. And I don't think it's a wheated bourbon, because again, the wheated usually adds a little bit of that sweetness flavor to it. And I also said it was a little bit younger. I don't think it's crazy young. I know you're talking about like under 4 years for yours. I don't think I think mine might be in that like 4-year range. And then I said $29.99. I dropped it to $30 because Lyle made me drop it to $30.
I think you should put 40. If
Should
40
I
is
just
what
keep it
feels
at
like,
40? Now I'm gonna go back.
Don't
I'm gonna go back and say,
Don't let
I
Lyle
should've
change
kept-
your mind.
Lyle's in my head right now. He's in my head.
He's in your head. He's shaking you up, man.
He is. I'm all shook up. All right, $40 is where I'm gonna put it.
You're at the free throw
Pre-Lyles.
line.
Pre-Lyles. That's it. Pre-Lyles comment there.
All right. What? I can't keep anything straight in my head. So what all are we giving? We're giving the year. We're giving the proof. And
Give
then our
anything
price?
you want, but the thing we're worried about is the year, proof, and price.
Okay. So, and that's our price, right?
What you would pay for it.
Yes, that's importantly different. Okay.
Right.
So what
and
I would
you
pay
actually
for.
think the value is.
Yeah. Okay. So this pour, it's very grain forward on the nose, light, bright, sweet on the palate, very little finish. Grains are prominent on the nose. A lot of sweet caramel in the mid palate. It's definitely not high proof, but it's not bare bottom. It's not 80s. It's not in the 80s. So I said the proof would be like 92.
Okay.
Because I know 46% is a common number.
Right.
I think it's 3 years old. And as an addendum to that, I think this is a craft whiskey. I don't think this is one of the big distillers. Because this kind of profile is the kind of thing I've tasted from two kinds of places: small up and coming places, and then places that are specifically focusing on either doing things that are uncommon, or they're trying to focus on like a farm to table kind of mentality, something unique that isn't the standard with your Heaven Hills or your Wild Turkeys or whatever. So I think this is a craft product. And then I said $50 because I normally wouldn't pay that much for a 3-year whiskey, but this goes back to that drinker idea. Like, this is a drinker. I could drink this all day. Wonderful whiskey. which is uncommon at 3 years. So hats off to these guys, whoever they are.
I think now that the way that you described that in my head, I think I now remember what I sent you, at least that one. And it's interesting you say all that. Let's just keep it at that. When we open things up,
Okay.
I'll reiterate a little bit more. But it's
Okay.
interesting that you
Okay.
say that if I'm thinking of the one that I sent you for number one. But again, I have no idea. It's been so long. Peter White says he gets Blanton's for about 68, which is about right. I think it's what,
Yeah.
60 MSRP. So 68, especially in Canada, that's not a bad.
I don't even remember what the MSRP is
I think
anymore.
it's
Around
60
here,
these days.
I've seen it everywhere between 55 and 80 on shelves.
Right.
So, and we'll see.
And then also gold for 100. I've never seen gold. I've never had an opportunity to buy gold, and that for $100 seems like a steal to me. I don't know what the current market is for gold, but
So they actually get gold in Canada more than we get it down here.
That's crazy.
At least I say that, in Indiana.
Right.
I've had gold a couple of times, and every time I've gotten a chance to try it, it was from someone in Canada.
Okay.
So I know they're getting more than we do.
Right. Which is kind of crazy. I'm glad that they get. I know a couple of people from the Canadian from the Canada area who are real big into bourbons and everything. And I can only being $68 up there because it's got to be imported into Canada. I don't know what kind of fees and everything go into that when you're transporting stuff, but across borders and everything. But 68's not too bad.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, we bouncing to number 2 here.
Oh, I'm already on number 2 because, like I said, when I was sipping number 1,
Ooh.
I wanted to kind of reset the nose there, so I just took a little smell of number 2, and number 2 is crazy. Number 2 is crazy on the nose. Super sweet right off the nose.
Oh, yeah. Number 2 is crazy. I did send you something crazy.
Oh, no. See, now I'm all nervous. Again, I feel like it's something that I've had before. Super sweet off the nose. Almost like a cherry, maybe like a medicinal cherry.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to give you too many hints, but I'll say this. If you've had this before, I would be shocked.
Dang it. See, I thought I knew what it was.
It's possible, but I would be shocked.
Are you guys okay with having a blind on each of your channels? So yeah, I did read that earlier. Dan said he wants to send us 8 samples, which is crazy generous, by the way. Just starting off with that. 4 for your channel, 4 for my channel. We'll do a live on each with Dan. Obviously, I'm not going to say no to you, Dan. I'm perfectly okay with that if that's what you want to do.
I am in. You send me a date, Dan, and I'll make it work.
Yeah, let's get something maybe like the beginning of next year if we can get it set up.
If I'm at a distillery somewhere, I'll just hide in the corner and shoot a video on my phone.
Yeah. I'm getting crazy
make
brown sugar on the nose on this. Like I used to not be able to pick these things out, but the second I smelled this, it was straight brown sugar.
I know I've got this bottle. Oh. I know I've got this bottle. Number 2.
It just bugs you. All the whiskey, like if I've only had 3 or 4 and then I drank one, I could probably be like, that's the one. But after having literally hundreds of different whiskeys and bourbons, 16 samples, Dan. So you want to send each of us 8, though. You don't want to send each of us 16. We're gonna do 8 for me, 8 for him, and then we'll drink 4 on mine, drink 4 on his.
Listen, Dan, however many samples you want to send me,
I am in.
I am in. I'll PM you my address and we'll make it happen. Whatever the number is, I'll send you a similar number.
Donnie Drama says 68 Canadian is like 53 US, which, like I said, I don't think I get it here in Pennsylvania at MSRP when I can find it, which is the best part about Blanton's. But I think it's $60 MSRP plus tax. So, yes, 8 and 8 is plenty. I can promise you that. We discussed before this how many we wanted to send to each other. We were like, oh, should we do 5? Should we do 3? Should we do 7? And we're like, let's start with 3 and see how 4 and 5 go. Might get a little extra taste going on tonight.
Oh man, okay. Let me just start thinking out loud. I gotta verbally process because I know I have this. This thing is super sweet. It's a fruity sweetness. I get like stewed apples, raisins, figs. There's some like very slight nuttiness, maybe like an almond extract,
Raisins and
honey.
figs. I don't think I could ever. I found raisins before. I don't think I could ever find a fig in my bourbon.
This
I'll be
is
honest with
this
you.
is the season. This is
I,
the season to find figs
this is the season
because
to find figs.
yeah,
That's
because
interesting.
figs are going to be much more. People often have figs with Christmas or with late December holidays,
Right.
and so get yourself some figs because they shouldn't be too expensive right now.
Okay.
And
Just smell a fig to see
it's
what I can find.
yeah, take a bite. Here, actually, honestly, this is what I would say. I would say take a bite of the fig, and then kind of open up your pathway here. Take a big deep breath and through your nose, out through your mouth, and just let it kind of. You got to do what they call the retronasal olfaction.
Okay.
It's the
I
flavor
can't
going
spell it, but I'll
back
try.
up. No, you can't. But it's the flavor going back up in the backside of your sinuses,
Okay.
and you'll really get because they're very sweet. They're almost like crystalline candy, but there's that plum note that is. It feels like a candied plum.
Gotcha. These are all things that I love to find out from people who do this much more regularly than I do. Dusty Dan says, sounds like a Knob Creek. What do you think of that?
Uh,
I test my nose with spices, fruits, etc. all the time. I bought the. I did a few videos a while back. I'm supposed to do one more video on it, but I bought the bourbon nosing kit off Etsy. This is just a
yeah.
nose your bourbon kit, and there's all kinds of crazy cool stuff in here. And it definitely helps when you can smell something, like you can smell allspice and then try to pull it out. And I didn't think it would help that much. Actually, opening that up alone didn't help because now all I'm doing is smelling those spices. But it's crazy how much that actually does help
Oh
smelling
yeah.
something first and then going and trying to find it.
So to Dan's point, I don't think this is a Knob Creek because for me, Knob Creek is usually oakier than this and has a slight nuttiness. And for me, and I did call out the nuttiness on this, but the focus, the primary note is super sweet. You know what? This is a weeder.
Uh-oh.
This is a weeder. Calling my shot. This is a
Uh-oh.
weeder because it is slight grain note, super sweet. This is like the classic age of bourbon too. This is like 7 to 9 years, I bet, maybe 10. But this isn't too old.
For
It's not
this
particularly
one, I
young.
originally put it was a bottled and bond off the nose, just trying to guess, and then I drank
Yeah.
it, and it sips a little hotter than a bottle and bond for me. Especially if this was my first drink of the night, I would have been like, all right, yeah, about 100 proof sounds right. But after having 2 drinks now and then still getting a little bit of heat on this, it's not a
Yeah.
bad heat. It's a little of a Kentucky hug, but it's good heat. But at the same time, I'm almost into that 115 to 117 range now that I'm getting off this one.
This is
I
Heaven
put
Hill.
115. This is Heaven Hill. The guy called the distillery. Right there. Somebody remind me of that when we find out what this actually
This has gotta be Heaven Hill. I'm writing it down. Heaven Hill has such a distinct note to it for me. I get now this is a lot sweeter than most Heaven Hill.
Okay.
Um but
Mama Bourbon of the Week says, when do you guess? We're guessing right now what we think it is, and then after we try all 3 and go through them, we'll do the big reveal. If we decide to do 4 and 5, I guess we would have to decide to do 4 or 5 before, because that'll be on there. That'll be on the list, so we'll have to decide which way we want to go.
I'm up for 4 and 5.
I guess after the lasagna, I think. Hopefully they brought enough for everyone. We do have enough lasagna now for a lot of people. There's only 3 of us eating lasagna in this house, and it's a lot of lasagna. And she cooked too. This is a high rye.
I hope this isn't what I think it is.
You hope it isn't what you think it is?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's a nicer bottle than you should have been sending me.
I didn't. Again, I have no idea anymore. It was a long time since I sent that bottle. I'm putting high rye, but this is a funny finish for me, and I want to keep drinking it before I confirm. It almost feels like a finished bourbon, a finished high rye, maybe like a port barrel, or I'm not positive on that yet. The only other thing that I could think of if it's not finished is that it is pot stilled. And it's one of the, if it is pot stilled or it's finished, which I'm not confirming yet. I don't want to throw that. I'm just going through my mind here. If it's either one of those things, it's one of the better whiskeys that I've had that is either pot stilled or finished. I will say that. So if we confirm that that's what this is, I will admit that, because I'm not a big finished fan when it comes to my whiskeys.
Yeah, there are very few finishes that I really enjoy. I will say that. Somebody in the chat just said, "Oh, I'm dropping glasses. Can't be doing that." Oh, now I'm dropping more glasses. Okay. Somebody take
them away,
from me, please. Okay, what did I see in the chat? Oh yeah, multicast, because I think Heaven Hill only has one weeder. Well, that should narrow down my guess, shouldn't it?
Which Heaven Hill is a weeder?
I'm trying to remember. I think it might be Old Fitz.
I do have an Old Fitz. But like you said, would I send that in the original 3? Now the last 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The last 2 I remember mentioning anything goes. So I think on the original 3 I sent you, but I don't remember. Again, I could have mixed them up too. I was probably drinking before I started filling them up.
No, Bernheim. Bernheim is the Heaven Hill weeder.
Larceny, the Bourbon van in the house, by the way.
That's right. That's right, Larceny.
YouTube channel, if you haven't checked out, one of my other favorites here. Phil and Julie are absolutely awesome. Make sure you check out the Bourbon van. Thank you two for stopping in tonight. Mama Bourbon of the Week says DrinkPro has a good poker face.
Yeah, well, I'm an attorney by day, so I'm
there.
It
is, folks. There it is. He knows exactly what it is. I know he knows. Larceny is Heaven Hill, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't see. That's like, those are the things that Phil just knows that kind of information off the rip. I just forget. I had so many. It's again one of those things where you just keep drinking these bottles and you do a little bit of research on it, and everything's Heaven Hill, Jim Beam, Wild Turkey, MGP, or like Brown Foreman is like the 5 distilleries that I have on my shelf.
Yeah, this is Old Fitz is a weeder. Because Old Fitzgerald is.
Yeah, Old Fitz is a weeder.
Same expression as larceny. So this is either larceny or Old Fitz.
Old Fitz is my favorite weeder that I've had personally. Even up against, I would maybe up against like Weller Foolproof. Weller Foolproof was really damn good. Wasn't a huge fan of Larceny, but I've only had the original, like, quote unquote bottom shelf Larceny. And I actually did a video on Larceny. And this is what one of my friends got me for a bachelor party gift. And he's like, "Have you ever had this?" I was like, "Yeah, just did a video on it. I hated it. Thanks for the handle of it." So that'll sit down here and become mixed drinks for the next 2 years.
I mean, some of the Larceny not barrel proof, some of the Larceny store picks I've really liked.
I've heard Larceny barrel proofs too are usually pretty good.
Yeah, they're all right.
I try not to take one expression from a particular brand and judge the whole line off of it, because I found that, like I said, I might not like the Larceny 94 proof, but then, like you said, the Larceny barrel proof's delicious, or a store pick is delicious.
Right. Peter, William Weller curb stomps most weeders.
Something I've never tried. Maybe one day. The Fine Wine and Good Spirits lottery will be out soon.
It's I've had the 20. I'm trying to think. I've had a couple of expressions. The 2019 really blew me away, though. William Baru. Dusty Sedan says he loves some Rebel Yell. It's now just Rebel. They rebranded.
Did they?
Yep.
There are a lot of people rebranding right now, and I don't know if it's smart or not, especially some of these, like Basil Hayden's 'S just became Basil Hayden. They got rid of the paper. Rebel Yell became Rebel, that I just found out. There was a third big one that just happened. Stag Junior is becoming Stag.
Becoming Stag, yeah.
I mean, I get it. They're probably just trying to put out that GTS 21 that didn't make the cut, and now it's going to be Stag.
Yeah, the Stag rebrand is the biggest question mark in my mind. Basil Hayden makes sense because everybody calls it Basil Hayden.
Right.
Like, I've never heard anybody call it Basil Hayden's.
Right. I just heard Basil's. Yeah, Basil's.
Yeah, so that doesn't surprise me. But and the Rebel Yell. So I don't know if you know the history of Rebel Yell, but it was intentionally branded at people in the South, and it was sort of like intentionally marketed towards white Southerners. and that
Okay.
was based on the distribution, the demographics, and the marketing.
Gotcha.
And so they wanted to revamp that image and remove some of that association with that sort of Confederate background. And so they
Makes
wanted to
sense.
get rid of the yell and just leave it called rebel, because a lot of people can go, "Oh yeah, I'm a rebel," and it doesn't have that connotation
That
of
negative connotation on it.
right, right. Now that being said, I don't think it's going to change anybody's mind.
Right.
I don't
Nobody's
think
now going to
anybody's
pick up a bottle of Rebel Yell or
right. If
Rebel.
you weren't drinking it before, I don't think you're going to drink it now. So,
The
I mean,
Bourbon
I
Man
think that's
asks,
why
and
they're
I
doing
don't
it.
know the answer to this. Is Rebel a Heaven Hill product? He thinks it was. He was under the assumption it was Luxco.
I think it's Lux.
I think it is Luxco. When I did the Heaven Hill or the Rebel Yell, I think it was Luxco. I have the single barrel and just the regular Rebel. I've also heard the 10-year is substantially better than their standard offering. I also do think that it's Luxco. Now that you say that,
it's sourced Luxro. Yeah.
yeah, it's sourced. Yep. See, Phil knows.
Yeah.
Phil asked the question, but he already knew the answer. I think because Phil knows everything.
He was just trying to be polite. He just didn't want to say, "Hey, that's not a Heaven
Right,
Hill
you're
product."
wrong. I'm right. No, sourced from Heaven Hill. Are we still talking about Rebel?
Well, it doesn't say where it's sourced.
I
from.
guess it could be sourced from Heaven Hill, which would be
But
an
it's a
interesting turn of events at the end of the day.
Well, it won't be anymore probably with the relationship now between Luxro and
MGP, correct? Yeah.
All right, so number 2, I'm going to say it's 100 proof. I'm going to say it's Heaven Hill. I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb and say it's an Old Fitzgerald decanter. I think it's one I've already got, so I'm going to say it's the Old Fitz. No, wait a minute now.
Hold
I
on.
know you've got an Old Fitz decanter. Oh,
I have an Old
shoot,
Fitz.
Which one do you have? Which one do you have? Do you have 8?
I have Old Fitz 8-year bottled and bond, spring
That's what it
2021 edition.
That's what it is. Which is very generous of you to send me a sample.
We're not sure if I sent that to you yet. Don't get it. You got your ducks in a row here. You're counting your chickens before they hatch. I genuinely didn't know. I'm always curious. I do think that it's Luxco. I do think that it's sourced, and I don't think I know who it's sourced from.
I looked it up. It's Luxro, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know who it's sourced from either, but it's Kentucky bourbon, so it's not MGP.
Not MGP.
At least the 10-year. At least the 10-year.
All
right, I'm going to start digging into 3 here.
I said for 2, I said it's sweet. I said medicinal cherry, very sweet, like brown sugar and sweet off the rip. I think it's a higher rye. Like, it's tough for me because when I originally started drinking whiskeys and I saw the word quote unquote high rye, I've seen like, what would you consider, how much percentage of rye would you consider a high rye? Because I've seen stuff as low as 12% where people are coming off saying it's a high rye. And I'm like, not when there's stuff that's, I had, what is it? The one of them's 30%. And I'm like, that's a high rye bourbon to me. Like Wild Turkey isn't a high rye, is it? At 12%, 13%?
13. Yeah, it's
13%.
75, 13, 12.
Right.
And honestly, I would say that's the lowest. If you're at 13%, that's still, I would say, technically a high rye, but only technically.
I feel like, personally, for me to consider it a high rye at this point, with how many people are coming out with, especially with all the stuff coming out sourced from MGP. MGP's rye, I think they have, 2 rye mash bills at 30-something and 26 or something like that.
Well, and their high rye is like in the 30s, I think.
Right. But 12% we're going to consider, then what's low rye? Like a 10% is low rye?
Yeah.
That's tough
MGP has a 21% rye bourbon and a 36% rye bourbon.
Right. 21 I can see being, when the ratio has to be at least 51% corn, that means there's only 49% left for anything else. I feel like you got to get closer to that 25% mark for me to consider.
Well, I think part of the reason, so it's not legally defined, but between 20 and 35 is often high rye. But part of the reason I think you can call something like
Wild Turkey, which is
Wild Turkey high rye, is because rye is the second highest ingredient.
Okay. Right.
Now that doesn't have anything to do with the definition, but it does
Interesting.
solve for something.
Let's get into number 3 here, though.
Oh, and the price I put on number 2 was $80.
Oh yeah, price. Damn, this one was good. You put $80?
Yeah. I have to admit that's informed partly by me thinking I
Thinking
called the
it's
shot on the
right.
bottle.
I went for number two. I'm gonna say 65. I think that was a damn good bottle. I think that it hit everything that I look for in a bottle of bourbon. I think it drank a
Yeah.
little hot, which would maybe pull it down for me. Unless this is something like crazy higher than I thought it was. If this is like a 120 or 130 proof, but if it's at 115 or even like 100, I think it drinks a little hot. But I
Mhm.
still think the flavor profiles, it gives you that kind of roller coaster ride on number two where it's sweet, a little rye spice, brown sugar, and then it has a pretty good finish. But again, I'm gonna put in parentheses over here. I'm gonna say, what did I think it was? I think it was pot stilled or finished. I think, but I'm not sure about that.
So my number 3 is very spice cake.
Okay.
Tons of cinnamon, allspice, clove. Ooh, very spicy. Wait a minute.
Evan Hill outsources as much as MGP, especially to independent bottlers in Europe. That's interesting because I always thought MGP outsourced more than anybody in the industry.
Well, I mean, the vast majority of their business is outsourcing,
Right.
so that's a
Other
little
th-
different. But
other than Luxco, what other bottlers does MGP have? Or I guess
MGP goes through a lot of different people. I'm trying to think of any that come to my mind off the top of my head. I mean, there's so many of them.
right.
I am not the biggest MGP fan, but if you see a bottle on the shelf that you don't recognize and they don't make it themselves, it's almost certainly
I just
MGP.
always look to see distilled in Indiana, and I'm just
Yep.
like, okay, here we go, another MGP.
Yep.
Do you have a
Exactly.
favorite bottle off the top of your head that you like that's MGP? I would have to say currently Smoke Wagon I just recently had uncut unfiltered
Smoke Wagon's really good.
blew me away
Um,
compared to a lot of the other MGPs that I've had.
I'll say this. I think that their Remus Repeal series, which is MGP bottling MGP, it's the first, the Remus collection is the first stuff that they've bottled themselves.
Right.
The Remus Repeal collection has gotten better and better each year. Repeal 4, yeah, I think that was a bottle you just had there.
I had five.
Peel 4, you got 5.
Yep.
I've heard nothing but good things about 5. I haven't had it yet, but 4, I loved 4.
Okay.
I will say this too. I'm not usually a big MGP fan. Um, Usually just like it's okay, but it doesn't usually hit right for me. But man, that Repeal 4 hit right. So I gotta get myself some of 5 and give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll hook you up with that eventually if you don't find it for sure.
Yeah.
That was one that I did enjoy. I thought that personally it was too complex for me. I think I'm not quite far enough into my bourbon journey, shout out Scott, or any of that whiskey drinking for long enough to really
Yeah.
appreciate what that bottle has to offer. Because it's just like I drink every time I drink it, I get something new, which is awesome.
Yes.
But like if I'm
Yes.
gonna drink something that I want like a consistent good bourbon, I'm not gonna pick
Yeah.
that bottle up. I'll drink it
Right.
absolutely, but every time I drink it, I'm like, wait, I didn't get that before.
It's so I talk about, and we part of what we wanted to talk about. We haven't talked about it much, but part of what we initially talked about was gift ideas, and that I think that you got to think about how somebody's going to be drinking whiskey too when you're talking about what to give them, because there are a lot of people that want to drink whiskey in a party environment,
Yep.
and so they want something that's easy to drink, that isn't challenging, but that tastes good. There are people that like trying new things, and they care more about trying something new than it being quote unquote good. And that's a different market entirely. And then the third market is the person that's going to sit there and spend all their time nerding out over the whiskey.
Yep.
And that pour to me fits in that third category because, like you said, every time you go in, you're going to taste something new. You're going to smell something new. You could sit there alone in a room and nerd out over that whiskey for hours.
Hours. Yep. And it was tough because especially trying to do a review on it, I'm like, do I like this? Do I not
Yeah.
like this? I
Yeah, and
did
you
like
rank
it.
all your
Now,
bottles too.
right, and I had to put that on a ranking sheet, and I literally said at the end, I was like, I have no idea about this bottle. And again, in 2 more weeks, it could be a whole different thing. It could open up a little bit
Absolutely.
more. It's going to offer you different flavor profiles. It was a crazy experience. It was one of the most different experience I've had since, and this was early in my drinking career with whiskey, was Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. Gave me one of the most unique experiences that I enjoyed, but I couldn't quite put my finger on when it came to whiskey or
I
bourbon.
really enjoy double oaked. That
It's
is
it's like a chocolate bunt cake at the end of the day. Like it's just weird.
it's super duper sweet in a really good
Yes,
way. That's a great dessert bourbon.
that's
That's
100% end of the night dessert
want to
bourbon.
finish my meal.
Yep. Mama Bourbon of the Week saying Remus coming from Connecticut. She and my father picked that up on a trip back from Connecticut,
Oh, nice.
which
Very
was
cool.
they called me and they actually spoke to. So the hard part about life in PA is you can't build relationships with store owners, right? It's literally
Yeah.
state run. We have one store, Fine Wine and Good Spirits. You have to go there no matter how much you talk to the store owners. One, they don't order their stuff. It just gets somebody puts it on a truck and it comes to they ship it to them. And two, even if it is on the truck, they don't know about it. And legally they're not allowed to call you and be like, "Hey, we're getting Blanton's this week." So you can't build relationships. They walked in and they talked to this guy in Connecticut. My parents will
Yeah.
probably never go back to the store again, and he was the nicest person and helped them out so much. They had me on
That's
FaceTime,
awesome.
and it's just like those are the kind of things that I would love to experience when it comes to bourbon hunting.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a couple of, I got some friends, so some of them are in the chat, like Trevor, who are in Ohio, and it's hard to hunt in this place where there's
Hmm.
controlled market.
The Weller market over there, though.
Oh yeah, you can go pick up some Antique
Ohio and
107.
Texas, whatever you need, Weller wise.
If I wanted to go over there and buy a case worth of Antique 107, bring it back to Indiana and sell it for 3 times the price, I could, but that
You
sounds
should.
exhausting.
Right.
It sounds exhausting.
You should. One store, mental note, don't move to PA. Correct, multicasting. It's one store, but the good thing is it's regulated. So they're not overcharging you. I know every time I'm walking in there to any store, I'm paying $60 for Blanton's if they have it, which is the good part. The bad part is 95% of allocated bottles go online now, and the website was made in 1947 and they haven't updated it since. So you literally click on it and the website crashes, and that's the end of your day.
Man, I know this one too.
Tom Burns says sometimes Fine Wine and Good Spirits employees don't even know delivery days. It's crazy. They'll just show up with a truck and be like, "Here you go."
So, number 3 for me. On the palate, it's spicier than the first two, for sure. This is the spiciest one yet. This is the oakiest one yet. Mid palate definitely got the black pepper. Not a dry oak. It's a sweet oak on the finish. Lingers for a good while too. It's definitely the longest finish as well. Yeah, this thing is sweet, spicy, and slightly oaky. Man, I know this one too. Damn. Oh, I gotta figure this one out. This one's gonna bother me.
I think you're trying to throw me off with these two. I think you put 2 and 3 next to each other for a reason, and I think it's because you're trying to throw me off.
That does sound like something I would do.
Three. It's tough because like 1 and 2 together almost taste like 3. I feel like you blended number 1 and number 2, and you sent me that as number 3. So number 3 I have right now. I wrote down craft immediately. I don't know if it's craft or just a younger bourbon. Or
Which one?
the number 3.
Okay.
It tastes like it just has a little bit of a tannin note to it. Like something about it almost gives you that younger fit. Now, it tastes younger, but I don't think it is younger because now again it comes across with a little bit of oak on it, which is where I'm thrown off. Because again, I said light for number 1, and then I said number 2 was it seemed a little bit older. I think maybe in like that 6 to 8 year range for number 2, which I'll write down. Where like number 3 seems like it starts out younger, but then the finish pulls in some oak notes and some aged notes to it, which is throwing me all off. David A, aka brother-in-law, I just call him Bill, brother-in-law, says, "Just got here. What did I miss?" You missed a lot, Dave. So we poured up 3 blinds. We want to know, first of all, we want to know in the chat, if you guys haven't answered this question yet, what are you looking for if you are the whiskey drinker in your family or you are the bourbon drinker in your family? What are you looking for as a gift? Because for me, it's so hard. I have my family all the time say like, oh, do you want us to get you something whiskey related? And it's like, well, I don't usually use rocks glasses too often anymore. Maybe if I'm making like an old fashioned or something. But 95% of the time when I'm drinking, I'm trying to pull out these notes. So even if I'm not doing it for anything other than just tasting, I'm trying to pull these notes out. So I still use a Glencairn, which I have plenty of. And then I don't usually use like whiskey stones. They're always something that people talk about. I'm not a big whiskey stones guy myself. So I love that I have them. But it's like, what do I really want for a gift this Christmas that I can relate back to my whiskey? And I don't know the answer to that, which I'm hoping you guys can help me out with.
Yeah, it really is tough to buy whiskey related things for whiskey drinkers. I will say I'm a big fan of having people buy local bottlings, unique bottlings. Seriously, if you're a person looking for a whiskey drinker for the person who has every whiskey, go to a local distillery, one that you don't think they would have visited, especially if they're in a different state or something. Go to a whiskey distillery in the state they aren't in. They might have some fun local stuff. Now, it might not be, it's not going to be a freaking Pappy Van Winkle.
Right.
It's not going to be an amazing thing,
but
it'll be
they haven't
unique.
had. Yep.
Something it will not be on their shelves. They haven't tried it before, and I bet they'll appreciate it more than pretty much anything you're going to find in the store. If they're a big time collector and they got all kinds of stuff, they'll really appreciate that.
Right.
I know I would.
Lyle says a gift Lyle says a gift certificate to, Johnny Drama says a gift certificate to my favorite liquor store. Lyle says it's fun trying to guess what drinking off the notes. It is. It's fun trying to guess because at the end of the day, you're only going to impress yourself with what you found you do or you don't like that you thought you may have loved. And now you're like, oh, now that I drink this blind, I'm not so sure about it. The blind test is definitely the most honest way to figure out what you do and don't love.
Tom said a few days late to ask for, but one of the BT Saz barrel selections from the other day would have been a cool Christmas gift. It would have been a fantastic Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there were about 33,000 entries in that occurred right at noon.
Yep.
I was number 4,300 and something.
I didn't even bother.
I know 3 people that got barrels. One of them is going to be with Bourbon Blind Nation. 2 of them are going to be with a local group called the Naptown Bourbon Club that I'm a part of. They're a 501c3. They're a charity organization, so they do some fun stuff.
Love that they got one then. That's the kind of stuff you want to see it go to.
Yeah, they got a Buffalo Trace pick and a 1792 foolproof pick. So
and I don't know if you saw, Old Forester just came out with something either today or yesterday about. I didn't read up on it. I just saw like breaking news from Old Forester. What's that? Yeah. Is that another type of pick thing?
So they're doing a limited release of the is it the President's Choice 22?
Okay.
And I think they're going to have a sign up lottery style drawing to right to buy. I think it's $180.
Okay.
The President's Choice have been fantastic pours. I haven't had very many of them, but they're always a hot commodity up there with the birthday bourbon, and sometimes even hotter, depending on the year.
Which is crazy because I've heard birthday bourbons that hit amazing, and I've heard birthday bourbons that are trash, and it's crazy that the hype is there for something that's so inconsistent.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing to me too is we'll say, what is it now, 2021? We'll say 8 years ago-ish, 2011, 2012, you could probably find birthday bourbon on the shelf for less than 50, maybe $50.
I'm calling this out, and I'm saying this only because...
Here we go.
Only because of the way I think that I'm drinking this. This is This is an Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Okay.
I don't love it. It's high proof. It's got to be high proof. If it's not high proof, then I don't.
That's number 3.
Number 3.
All right.
I'm calling it out as an ECBP. I'm not gonna try and guess A120, A121. I keep coming back to. It's not craft, but Elijah Craig always came off as. And we talked about this before I got started about how I'm so afraid somebody's gonna send me Elijah Craig and I'm gonna love it. and I keep finding people keep sending it to me as blinds, and I keep being able to pick them out. Now I don't know if that's what this is. Maybe this is some other type of barrel proof, but the way that normally that uncut, that barrel proof, that barrel strength comes across
Yeah.
is it has a little bit more of the things you don't love, but usually you can hide it with the things that you do love because it is that barrel strength. This, on the other hand, if it is Elijah Craig barrel strength, seems to have that I don't love factor to it,
Mm.
which I equate to that craft slash younger, but it's definitely not younger. There's no way the proof and the flavors could be in this if it was younger. So I'm taking that
Yeah.
off the board. But I think the oak in this throws me off a little bit because I don't think Elijah Craig barrel proof usually gave me too much oak. It usually gives you a little hint
Right.
of oak for me. This one seems to have a little bit more oak. But who knows? Maybe it's one that I haven't tried.
On number 3, I am convinced that it is Wild Turkey. Because it's got that spiciness that I always get from the sweet and spiciness I always get from Wild Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a standard 101. Um, and it's not high proof enough to be like a Russell's Reserve. I guess it could be Kentucky Spirit. Um, I can't imagine it's a Master's Keep or a rare breed. It's definitely not high enough to be rare breed. Um,
Peter White, I cannot grasp anybody not liking ECBP. I will tell you that right now I am 100% in the minority on that, and I understand and I accept that, and I'm fine with everybody liking it. Elijah Craig to me is one of the only Heaven Hill products that I can't seem to to wrap my head around. I understand the value is there. You're talking what? They're like 55, $60 for an Elijah Craig barrel proof. I haven't bought one in a while. I haven't bought one this entire year. I didn't buy one, but I think they're around that $60 to $65 range. And that for 100. I also think that, at least in my experience, I had the B517. I have a bottle of it, which won Whiskey of the Year, which is when I think Elijah Craig Barrel Proof got put on the map.
yeah,
It was at the same time that bourbon started kind of gaining some traction. They
yeah.
just won Whiskey of the Year. Everybody loved it. And I think the quality since then has dropped. Now, B520 was the best one that I've personally had, and I've had 5 or 6 of them other than the B517. But personally, I understand I'm in the minority. I just don't think Elijah Craig puts out that great of a product. And it's all preference. I always talk at the end of
It
the day
is.
in every one of my videos and everything that I talk about. It's a preference.
It is. It's a preference, and you know, I actually always think it's good when people don't like easy example. Everybody loves Four Roses single barrel strength. There are very few of them that I really love. I think a lot of the picks are decent. And that's great for me because then I don't feel compelled to chase them. There are like 2 mash bills that I chase after, the fruitiest ones. And even then, I like the ones that are lower tier. And most people chase the higher tier ones, the ones that are from higher parts in the warehouse that are higher proof that have more oak.
Right.
And so it puts me in a great space because I can go after things that aren't as a high demand.
Yep.
No, people. I'm more than happy to let people chase after the tier 6 OESV single barrels because just not my preference. And I know it's a good whiskey, but it's just not my preference.
Yep, I agree 100%. And that's the other thing is I'm not going to. So now that I know I don't love Elijah Craig, and it was crazy because like when I first got started, I got caught up in that hype of, oh, I have to have that bottle. Like
Yeah,
everybody wants it.
yeah,
I have to have it. And I bought, like I said, I bought A120, B520, C920, and A121. And I decided that's it. Like it sits on my shelf now. And I'm like, why am I going to buy B5 to put out a review just telling you the same thing you already know about it, that you know I don't like it? So I've stopped chasing the hype. Now that's to an extent. So I think Elijah Craig is like, quote unquote, available. Now you got to go out and search for it a little bit, but at the same time,
yeah.
it's more available than like I've never had a Master's. Somebody just mentioned Master's. Lyle just said Master's Keep. I've never had one. I guarantee you, if that became available to me, I would go out and buy it off of the hype if it was the right price. And that's just the beast of the game, where like you have to take advantage of certain situations, but not others.
I have been lucky enough to try all the Masters Keeps except the most recent one, the Masters Keep 1. Um, my this is another, speaking of opinions where you're in the minority, um, Master's Keep 17-year bottled and bond was probably my least favorite of the Master's Keep line. And a lot of people loved it because it had that old dusty turkey flavor that people are looking for. But I like a lot of the wild turkey that's at lower proofs because it brings up this beautiful fruity floral note.
Yep.
And so it's what you're looking for, right?
Yep.
Like if you want that old dusty turkey vibe, then you're not going to look for the same pour. And so the Masters Keep 17 year, not the bottled and bond, the regular 17 year was lower proof and much more fruity floral. And that hit me perfectly. That was my favorite of the bunch. Decades is really good too.
Right.
But yeah, those are good luck finding those.
Tom Burns says at the Drink Pro, PA had a couple of Russell's single barrel picks this year, which is why I grabbed while you were talking off the shelves. I got one of these Russell single barrel picks from Fine Wine and Good Spirits. I've had a few of their single barrels. This is the first pick that I've had. I haven't opened it yet. This is one of those bottles that, like, I'm not one for I'm going to hold on to a bottle and never open it, but I am for I'll open a certain bottle at a certain time for a certain occasion, and I'm just waiting for the occasion on that one. And I'm interested to see because I have heard a lot of good things. For all of the PA picks in general, they haven't really missed on them from what I understand, which is crazy.
Klein says, yo, I'm on the clock right now, but I'll get on later. Stick around. Come back when you can.
Watch on the clock. Let them pay you to watch Bourbon.
That's right. I don't like Elijah Craig as the guy who bought EC18.
Johnny Drama says we got to figure out a swap arrangement for that B520 and C920. It's all yours. You let me know what you want to send me. You could send me friggin' a bottle of JTS Brown. I'll send you everything I have left. Because
I'm preempting him on that one. I'm preempting him. I'll do that. I'll do that deal all day.
I would much rather drink a bottle of JTS Brown after having it than I would any of the other than who said it? Dusty Dan said B517 was really good. The B517, I think it stands like if you put that up against the other whatever you have in your collection, I think you would be like, damn, like that's what people were looking for when they were trying to get Elijah Craig barrel proof. And that's the only one that I can truly say I didn't not like. I wouldn't say I loved it still because it still has that Elijah Craig
didn't not like.
It still has that Elijah Craig on it, but at the end of the day, it was pretty damn good.
All right, number 3, I'm going to say Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit. I'm going to say it's 8 years old. I'm going to say I really like that one. I'm going to give it $90, even though that's higher than normal Kentucky Spirit.
I said ECBP 120 plus, but I'm kind of coming down. I was gonna push it a little bit higher, but I'm gonna keep it at that 120 proof.
Okay.
I'm gonna erase the younger and the craft because I don't think it is younger or craft. I think it's just not my cup of tea. I put Oak on it, and then we're going with what I would pay for this personally, right?
Sir.
Not what it's worth.
Sir.
I would probably pay, and I think this is like a true valuation of what I think Elijah Craig barrel proof is worth. Even though I don't love it, I think that it's worth probably about $50, which is what I'm going to put on this. Because I do agree that at the end of the day, you're getting tasting notes, you're getting a lot of flavor. Just because I don't like the flavor doesn't mean they're bad flavors, they just mean I don't like them. And at 120 proof, being a barrel strength coming out of Heaven Hill, there's not much more that you could really ask them to do to put it at any cheaper than anything like that. Personally, that's where I'm at.
That's a fair assessment. Generous.
So those are our 3. Are we gonna open 4 and 5 here? Are you pouring them up?
I say we should do it.
What
does the chat say? Does the chat say we should?
I agree. We could leave it up to the chat. I kind of really want to revisit number 1 here. Because that one from the beginning threw me off a little.
Well, why don't you revisit number 1 and we'll wait for the chat to tell us what we're doing.
I got to go into the sample shelf over here and grab the other 2.
I don't think the chat's gonna.
Oh, they'll tell us. They'll tell us to open them. You know they will.
Dusty Dan's. You guys are giving me tons of ideas of what to send you. That's great.
Oh God, Dusty Dan's gonna send me a straight 8 Elijah Craig barrel proofs and make me review all 8 of them.
Dusty JTS Brown. I would not be mad about getting a Dusty JTS Brown. I got to try the 1961 Old Granddad Bottled and Bond, and it's something from another world. It's wild.
A Dusty Old Granddad?
In 1961. Yeah.
That's crazy because I'm a huge fan of Old Granddad, especially the bonded.
Yes.
How did
It
you?
was
What did you find as far as comparing it to something more recent?
so I did a video, you can check it out,
Okay.
where I compare the 1961 and the 2021. So, 60 years apart, how different is OGD? Um, I was a little surprised how similar they were in terms of like general profile, but they were meaningfully different in really important ways. The biggest for me was the creamy, sweet caramel. What we call caramel today is rarely actually caramel.
Right.
Um,
Like a real
y-
caramel rather than the
yeah,
fake
yeah.
processed.
That's right. Peter White, OGD 1961 equals National Distillers. That's right.
Chris, don't you have work tomorrow? No,
Um,
Dave, it's my off season, brother. No work for me.
it is an
That's an
old
old
granddad, says
granddad,
Lyle.
Lyle. That's an old granddad. That is. That's about as old
It,
as a granddad as you can get.
yeah,
It's
it
crazy to me
was
that these things
a
still.
bottle.
Was that unopened, or did somebody send you like an open
Was on
sample? Or
it was an unopened whole bottle. I bought it for an event that I was running. I got hired by a local doctor to do a tasting event and sort of walk them through a series of samples. It was for his 60th birthday, and we got some really extraordinary bottles for that. So that was one of them. Because it was his 60th birthday, he was born in 1961, and so we got him a couple of birth year bottles, one of which we opened um, that night.
that's one thing that maybe you could speak of, and I know Dusty Dan can absolutely speak of, is I don't even know where I would go to look for a Dusty. So obviously, like Jason from the Mash and Drum is huge into Dusties. Dusty Dan is obviously huge into Dusties. Like I'm not walking into Fine Wine and Good Spirits here in Pennsylvania. I'm not walking into even like a Total Wine or anything. Like there's got to be a is there like an online market for these things that you guys know and trust? Is it more of a connection thing? Like, hey, I talked to Dusty Dan. He knows a guy who's got this bot. Like, is it personal collections that people are selling these out of?
So the way I typically get my hands on them, I don't buy a lot of Dusties essentially because I don't like spending a lot of money on
Right.
things. Um, because there's basically two ways you're going to get them. Yeah, you find somebody that you trust. For me, locally, there's a guy named Alan who is everybody in the bourbon community knows Alan. He's been in it forever. He's a really good guy, just great people. He's given me a couple really cool old samples from my channel. But he is the Dusty King. He might still do this. He used to scour ads in the newspaper for estate sales. And that's the real answer to how you get your hands on Dusties if you're not willing to shell hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars to people who hopefully you trust.
Right.
Go to estate sales, find people who don't really they have maybe a collection and they don't care about it. They're willing to get rid of it. Um, you can do it through auction houses, but again, that's going to get your price up pretty high. Your best bet to make it like not insane is estate sales because there are a lot of people with whiskey collections and then have children or grandchildren who just don't care
Don't care
about them at
about them.
all.
Right.
And some of that's going to be blind auctions too. I know people that have gotten some really cool things from um, those storage container, or not storage container, but like the storage locker. You ever see the show Storage Wars?
Yeah,
They would like bid
absolutely.
on. Yeah,
Yep.
like that's a real thing people do, and I know some people that got some cool bourbon out of one of those because
Their own
they
bourbon
would,
now.
they were just like they would just do secondhand stuff, right? And they knew a bunch of people that were into antiques, so they'd go to those all the time. And if they saw something they liked, they would go for it. And they saw one that was full of whiskey boxes, and they're like, "Oh, what the hell? Maybe there's something cool in here." And sure enough, they found a nice little collection, and they made a pretty penny off of it. But
Right.
they're out
Peter,
there. You just
Peter
gotta
White
gotta find
says
them.
Liquor Hound says that the early 1980s OGD 114 may be the greatest bourbon ever, which is crazy to think that somebody can label that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, how do you pick that out? But for somebody to label that, that's crazy.
That's a bold claim.
Mama Bourbon of the Week says, "What's a Dusty?" A Dusty is like an older bourbon, Mom. Something that's been on the shelf for a long time. Is there a classific? Is it like older than 25 years? Like,
I don't think
is
it
there a
really has.
legal classification for it?
I'll show you something. So there's a pretty hood liquor store that I've been to a couple of times because they just never have any turnover. And I bought this there. This is pretty old Forester. I bought this in 2021. Obviously, this is not a 2021 label. And I literally wiped the dust off of this with a cleaning cloth
Right.
to when I got it, when I put it in my car. So, like, that's where my mind goes when it's a dusty. It's something that's been on the shelf so long that it is dusty. Um, Most people think of dusties as being early. I would say at the latest, the mid '90s, or the earliest. Wait, most recent, the mid '90s.
Most recent mid-90s. I'm trying to
But,
look at a bottle that I just had from my stepfather-in-law's house. It was a 1792 something reserve, but it was
Richmont?
Richmont Reserve. Yep, that's the one. And I think the last time they made that was 2013, which isn't quite. I guess it's not quite falling into that dusty period, but still a 10 or 12-year-old bottle that he still had some whiskey left in it. And I tried it, and it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Nice. Those can always be a gamble too, because it depends on how they're stored and everything,
Right.
and how good they're going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what Dan's getting on. You have to be extremely careful though, because yeah, you will not know. It's always going to be a gamble.
Right.
Always, because you could get a bottle that looks like it's in perfect shape, and if the cork is just a little skewed, it could be not very good. You have to check for what's the fill level, how clear is the liquid. There's a lot of considerations. Going back to the present thing, I'll keep bringing the theme up since it's easy for me to think in that term. If you're buying somebody an expensive bottle, it's going to be a dusty, and it's going to be something that maybe is not perfectly sealed. It's a huge gamble.
Yep.
Huge gamble. It's not a safe buy. Now, it's a very epic buy, but it's not safe.
Right. I went back to one, by the way, and I'm mad at myself. I'm mad I went back because now I'm reconsidering everything I ever said about one. Because when you start with your first whiskey of the night or your first bourbon, and then you revisit it later, you're like, what did I miss? And I feel like I missed a lot. I feel like I didn't miss much. I still have the proof the same. But I took craft off number 3 and I put it on to number 1. As far as I think in my mind, you sent me something local because you knew I wouldn't have it. Now, I don't think you sent me like something crazy, but I think you sent me something that I wouldn't have had before. But I'm not sure. Now I feel like maybe number 1 is something local, something craft.
I like watching you.
I go through my mind so much. I hate it.
This is great. This is great. Peter White, I do have a 2012 GTS, and when I pop the cork, you can smell it from 20 feet away. Oh, I'm sure.
That's crazy. That's the kind of stuff like you said about. It's up to you. We can do one. We can do both.
Let's do it. Let's do them. I want to do both.
I had 2 more glasses sitting here because I knew we were going to do it. So if that makes you feel any better. The first glass still has a little Michter's in it. All right. Sample 5. Sample 4.
All right.
Number 1, by the way, is really making me mad.
It's gonna be. You're only gonna be madder when you find out what's in it.
Now I want to take craft back off the table.
Shit.
As I drink it more. I feel like we have the same sample bottles, by the way, because I have these same issues with the ones that I have, where these little plastic pieces get stuck.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody can see those. I buy them off of Amazon. They're not the most expensive, but they're not the cheapest either. But they work.
Yep,
but
they do the job.
These little plastic pieces are normally in the cap like this, but sometimes they get caught in the actual bottle.
Yeah, it does happen, but okay.
Now I want to look through.
See, now I will say this too, because I haven't been drinking for a while now. Now we're getting into the territory where I'm going to be a lot less accurate, I'm fearing.
Nah, I feel like you'll be better.
I feel really comfortable with I came up with this while I was in law school. There's this idea of like the band of excellence. So when you're first starting out with, we always compare it with darts, because every night after studying for the bar exam all day, we'd go play darts and just talk about what we had done that day and have a couple drinks. And when you first start out and you're totally sober and you're throwing darts, you're probably not very good. You're overthinking it. You're in your own head. You're getting in your own way. You're not fluid at all. Then you have a drink or two or three, and you're throwing really well. You're focused, but you're not overthinking anything.
Right.
That's the band of excellence. And you drink more than that, and you start to get sloppy. You start to lose focus and coordination. I'm in the band of excellence right now. I don't know how long I'm going to be there.
Well, Chad is saying, and I'm trying to think how we can do this. Chad is saying, tell us 1, 2, 3, and then go back and revisit 4, 5. But the problem is they're all on the answer key. So I'm wondering if there's a way that we can read. I know you have the picture, so you could tell me 1, 2, and 3. I don't think I have my answer key for 1, 2, and 3.
All right. I can read what 1, 2, and 3 are for you.
You tell me. You tell me off yours.
I'll tell you. Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to. So
I think I have it written low,
so you can see it. I'm going to try to just find the numbers. I'm doing my best here. Okay, it seems to be written that way.
This is interesting to me, folks, because I also
that's
don't
upside
know
down.
what this is.
That's upside down. I'm really trying to do this without seeing everything. Okay, I can see 1. Okay, this will work because I can see 1 and 2. Okay, so I can just slowly walk this up and we'll get there. Okay, so I will.
I'm interested. I'm curious what I sent you.
Okay, so I'll start with number 1 for you.
Number 1. This one pissed me off, by the way.
What was your warm-up pour?
Michter's.
Was it the bourbon?
The Michter's bourbon. Don't tell me you sent me Michter's bourbon.
Your number 1 was Michter's American.
American whiskey?
American whiskey. Michter's American, 41.7% alcohol, 83.4 proof.
83.4. I said 94. I did say light. I said younger.
But I knew you started with Michter's. I'm like, I know that's
crazy that I started with Michter's. A lot of people say they like the Michter's American more than they like the Michter's bourbon. And I don't know. I don't know if I could. Now that I have both, I'm going to have to pour up another Michter's bourbon here.
I recommend highly Michter's American as a first pour of the night. It's low proof. It's gentle. It's sweet. It is
definitely gentle. Definitely sweet.
It's a great first step in the water. I love it for that reason.
Interesting. That's crazy that I poured up a Michter's in the first.
I know. When I heard you say you were pouring up a Michter's, I was like, oh yes.
That's crazy.
All right. So my first one is. Let me make sure I got this. I don't want to. I'm trying to not.
Crushable. Tom Burns is the absolute word for it.
All right. Let me crushable. I'm gonna scoot up number 3 here and do my best to like not. Oh shit! I did good.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I did real good. Okay. Number 1 for me is Wiggle. I've never heard of. Wigle, Pennsylvania straight bourbon.
So I sent you a craft. That's why I got in my own head about you sending me a craft.
And this. Okay. Yeah, that was really good. That's a really good craft bourbon, man.
It's a younger craft bourbon here from the Pittsburgh area that people do enjoy a lot. So it is in our stores. It definitely, once you drink it, you can tell it's a craft bourbon.
Right. You can tell right away, but then, there's so often that happens that I'm almost disappointed. But this one, I was like, oh, hell yeah, these guys are doing things.
But it's $40. Is Michter's American $40?
That's not bad at all.
No, I don't know about Wiggle. Now I gotta think about Wiggle. I think Wiggle's $50. Just because it's that craft, that small.
Right, yeah, there's always an upcharge for that. Michter's American MSRP, I got $46 from Total Wine.
46. I put 40 thanks to Lyle. See, I almost changed it to 30, so I was close on the price.
I was kind of like, go with your first instinct, man.
Yeah. Lyle threw me off. He got in my head. That's
Can't
crazy.
let him get in your head.
Wiggle is a more popular local craft. It's in all the fine wine and good spirits around here. It's from Pittsburgh. They have a couple different expressions. They have a Wiggle Rye, I think, the bourbon, and then they also have something called Afterglow, which I actually have down here. It's like a flavored whiskey. It's one of their flavors. It's not a bourbon or anything. From our family distillery.
People love shitting on flavored whiskey, but some of them are decent. Not a ton of them, but some of them I like.
Yeah, whiskey with natural flavor added. It's supposed to be like a caramel salty pretzel type of thing. Again, not my
Okay.
favorite, but at the same time, I just wanted to give you a little taste of Pennsylvania bourbon
I dig
because
that. So
Pennsylvania is
that was known.
known for their ryes. So Pennsylvania
Yeah.
rye started in Pennsylvania. Rye whiskey started in Pennsylvania, and now
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So it's a 2-year-old.
yep,
I said three.
younger.
It's a 2-year-old, but I'm more surprised that it's got a very standard mash bill. It's 65 corn, 18 wheat, 17 barley. Then
All
okay, it's
local, if I remember correctly.
they call it regional. I don't know what that
Regional,
means,
fair
but
enough.
it's all organic as well.
Yep, organic is their big thing.
65, yeah, 65, 18, 17 is the mash bill. 25-gallon barrels. That's important. That's why they did 2 years. So this is great advice. If you guys are thinking about, hey, you know what? Gift ideas for Christmas. Get a mini barrel. I've got a little 5-liter mini barrel. It's made out of real white oak, charred on the inside, just like a regular barrel, but it's small. It is so much fun to play around with. So much fun. Now you got to take care of it, right? And you've got to run a couple things through it first to
Open it up a little
lessen the
bit.
effect. Exactly,
Right.
because what makes such a difference with the barrel size is the square, the percentage of the liquid that's touching wood.
Right.
So, right, you shrink a barrel from 55 gallons to 50 gallons, you increase the percentage of whiskey touching wood by much more. If you cut it from 55 to 27 and a half or whatever, you make it a half reduction, it's going to increase 4 times how much whiskey's touching wood
Right.
because it's
Compared to
area.
what's in the barrel versus yeah.
Right. So you get something like 25 gallons, and that's going to age super fast. Now, here's the thing. When you're aging whiskey, you're going to go through 3 levels. You're going to have your initial touching of the char, which essentially is a mellowing component. It's charcoal. Charcoal filtering is just a mellowing component. So your first level on a barrel is the char. That's going to mellow out your distillate. The second level is where you're going to get all of those wood sugars from. You're going to get a lot of fun esters that'll bring in unique flavors from the wood itself. The third level is where you get the actual oaky flavor. That's where you get your wood tannins. So when you do something that's a small barrel for a short period of time, if you time it just right, you can get the mellowing of your distillate and a little bit of that sweetness without getting into too much of the tannins. If you go too long, the tannic stuff just takes over. And that's always the problem for a lot of people with Texas bourbon is that it's so hot down there and they have such big temperature changes that even their young whiskey seeps deep into the barrel and gets into that tannin place. So if you like an oaky bourbon, it's great because you can get a relatively young one down there that's super oaky. But if you don't, like me, it's a little harder.
I'm not a
That is
big
a
Texas
great
bourbon
whiskey.
fan. I've had the
Yeah.
Balcones is the only one that I've had, and it's
Yeah.
not for me.
I've had a couple of them. That one's just okay. Off on a tangent there, but I'm
No, I
excited
love
about
it.
that. I'm
I
gonna
love
get
hearing
myself
it.
a bottle of that. That's great, man. My number two was I called this shot. Old Fitzgerald 8-year bottled and bond.
I didn't think he would let me send that to him because he said kind of keep it a little okay. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you sent me that. I wasn't
Nah,
expecting
I
anything.
had to take care of something, you know?
I appreciate that.
Very good. A very good. Like I said,
Yeah.
one of the best weeded bourbons I personally had. Now I haven't had the
Yeah.
11 and there's a 14 year. Is that correct for Old Fitz?
Yeah. Yeah. What do I have?
I haven't had either of those.
I've got a 9, and I think I've got the 14. Haven't had the 14. You had the 11?
I've only had the 8. I haven't or the Old Fitzgerald 8-year bottle and bond. I haven't had any other Old Fitz.
All right, I got you. I'm gonna take care of that. I'll just go ahead and finish out. And number 3, I called that too. Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit single barrel.
Very good bottle. Very
Man.
good bottle.
That's the best I've ever done in a blind tasting. I'm really proud of myself.
I'm very proud of you too. That was awesome. Especially after a 3-week hiatus. Maybe that gave you a little bit of that, you could revisit those, jump back
I might have
into
got
it
some
mentally.
clarity.
Right.
Yeah. And that That particular single barrel really hits good. That is
Hmm.
fantastic.
Again, that's the single barrels are always tough because you never know what you're gonna get.
They
I
really
personally
are.
loved that Kentucky Spirit that I have. It's
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
So what was two for me?
All right, number two.
I'm
This
interested.
is this
This
is a
was this
unique
was
one.
my favorite of the three, by the way. I said number two, number one, then number three. Michter's American right now being number one. Refound beginner's luck. Exactly what it might have been. Refound beginner's luck.
Maybe. All right, so number two is the here we go. Old 55
Old 55. Never even heard of it.
single barrel bourbon whiskey. It's distilled in Newtown, Indiana.
Interesting.
Now, this is an 80% corn, 20% red winter wheat. So there's no barley in this and no rye in this. It's only corn and wheat.
Interesting. I said it
Um,
was very sweet, very brown sugar
yes,
forward.
yes.
What's the proof on
They
that?
that is 54.9% alcohol.
54, so
So
108.
109.8.
109. I said 115, so I was a little high, but not too far off, which I like.
You were pretty close. Lyle says showing off some skills. I am definitely not calling that skills.
Oh, I would. Absolutely. Three for three.
That's yeah.
Does that have
That's
an age statement on it?
They are so these are all single barrels. It doesn't have an exact age, but I know for a fact they pull them all between 4 and 5 years.
4 and 5. So I said six. I said 6 years, so I'm right there with that. And then
I
obviously it's
think
not
that barrel was
finished.
5.
Okay. It's not
Right, it's
finished or
not
anything.
finished. No, it's not finished, but it is a very unique mash bill, and they use smaller barrels than average. They actually age the barrels in the basement of a school, an old school building.
Interesting.
It's a very damp environment. Um, and what that does is it really affects how they age. So these actually age a lot more like scotch in terms of how the proof is affected by the climate.
Okay.
So instead of going radically up in proof like some of the hotter warehouses will, these tend to either drop in proof or stay the same as entry proof.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's 110. That's barrel proof.
Is that like
But
a local place or is that a national brand?
no, that's a local brand. It's a
Okay.
guy. There's basically a dad. No, there's a grandpa who started a corn farm. The dad took over, and now the son and other children have opened a distillery, and they use all of the corn and the wheat that they grow on their own farm to make this spirit. So they not it's as locally sourced as it gets. They grow
Right.
the corn and then they carry it next door and distill it.
Right. Nathan Cooper says, "Hey fellas, what's going on, Nathan?
What up, Nate? How you doing, brother?
Like that bow staff skills. Yeah, absolutely skills for calling all three of those tonight.
Johnny Drama's got a good question. Which warehouse is your Kentucky Spirit from?
Ooh, that is a good question. I don't know if I have. I gotta go grab. It's right in the laundry room actually. Let me grab that. Tell me number
Yeah,
three though, because I'm listening. I want to hear. It's if it's not ECBP, I'm gonna be very upset with myself.
All right, it's not ECBP.
Oh no. What is
Number
it?
3 is the Maker's Mark 2020 limited release. It's the SE4 PR5 stave profile.
What's the
Um,
staves on it?
it just says SE4 times PR5. I don't
Gotcha.
remember what that actually means. It's a marriage of virgin toasted American and French oak staves, is what it says.
Toasted American and French oak. So I have a few of the
Yeah.
Maker's Mark store picks.
Mm,
So there's 5 staves that normally go into it. I don't know if that'll
yes.
show up there. Um,
Yeah.
So this was the American Pure, which is the first one, and the French Oak. You said French. There's 3
Toasted
Frenches on here.
American and French oak. Yeah. I'm
Toasted.
trying to
Okay,
see. I'm
that's
terrible at
interesting.
remembering the details on stuff.
I'm
like
not the
this.
biggest Makers fan, which makes me feel a little bit better about that because I'm just Makers is decent, but again, as far as a wheated bourbon goes, it's definitely not my favorite. I'm actually gonna
Yeah.
do like a Makers versus Weller thing here to see like who is actually better when it comes to wheated bourbons. I can't
Yeah.
get into wheated bourbons for some reason, and I don't know if it's the wheat that's doing it. I guess it has to be if I love Rise and I love High Rise and everything like that, but Something about weeded bourbons that I just don't love, which makes me feel a little bit better about thinking this was. And what's the proof on that? Do we know the proof on that?
110.8 proof.
Okay, I said 120, so it definitely sips hot.
It does sip hot, yeah.
And then I did say oak. There's a lot of oak on this, which kind of threw me off.
Yeah,
that probably comes from
very
those
oaky.
staves.
It does. So the way they make a lot of these series is they'll do a standard aging on Maker's Mark, pick sort of the best of their standard release products that they have, and then they will finish them in freshly made barrels. They work with independent stave company and create their own special staves, create barrels out of them, and then finish their own normal product in those barrels. So with this one, the SE4 is the virgin French oak, and the PR5 is the virgin toasted American oak. Both those staves were aged outside for a full year, and that kind of opens up the pores essentially of the wood.
Right.
And then it says the final blend. I got some information here from Breaking Bourbon that says the final blend was approximately 13% of the SE4 staves, which is the virgin French oak. It's about 13% of those that were aged for 6 weeks. 32% of the French oak that was aged for 5 weeks, and 55% of the Virgin American toasted oak that was aged for 4 weeks. So very interesting process they went through to blend those together.
Gotcha. And Johnny Drama says the same staves makers used this year in their FAE release. So this is FAE 02, which I did hear. I didn't try 1 or 2 because, again, I've gotten to that point in my drinking whiskey career where I'm not going to buy drinks that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like. So I didn't buy the FAE 01. I didn't buy the FAE 02, but I did hear, for the most part, most people like the FAE 01 better. Now, I don't know how much that ranges across personal opinion, but I heard for whatever reason FAE 01 seemed to, and again, it probably comes down to that stave process, but interesting to know that that's Maker's Mark. ECBP was just like, it was fresh in my mind. But it's a high proof. It's weeded, I guess, instead of EC. Elijah Craig isn't weeded, but
right. All right, let's dig into these.
My Kentucky Spirit, by the way, is bourbon whiskey that was bottled in 12/03/2020 from barrel 0272, stored in warehouse A on Rick number 22. So warehouse A, Rick 22.
Interesting. Okay. Now, right off the bat, the nose on 4 smells like, I feel like this has got to be Barton. I guess it could be, it could be Jack Daniels. It could be like, but it's got that banana bread vibe.
I only saw the top 2 so far. We got 4 and 5 coming up here. Ooh, it has some heat to it. Yep, that's 4. 4 has some heat to it.
I gotta remember what I gave you for 4. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this one, warehouse G, but haven't popped it yet. I'm always curious how different warehouses vary. Obviously, the different aging conditions are going to change a lot of the flavor profile and everything, but I'm curious across like the same product how much it actually changes things. So there's something that I've talked about multiple times where what is it? It's warehouse C. What is that? E.H. Taylor, warehouse C. And they come out with this bottle labeled warehouse C. And from my understanding, everything E.H. Taylor is already from warehouse C. So why right. So like what is warehouse C getting me that an E.H. Taylor small batch isn't getting me, that now I have to go out and hunt warehouse C?
I don't remember off the top of my head what the story is behind why these are different, but it's certainly not worth the secondary pricing.
Lyle, I'm still sticking to my guns on this. I still have number 2 is my favorite, which is crazy because it's that local place, right? That was the old 55.
Yes, sir.
Number 2 was my favorite. Number 1 was second, which was Michter's American. And number 3 is still of the 3 that we started with, number 3 is still my least favorite. And I think that's fair for my personal opinion, because I do not love a weeded bourbon, and I definitely don't love Maker's Mark personally. I understand why people love it. I think it offers some. I think Maker's Mark offers something better than Elijah Craig does, and it's an entirely different product. Russell's Reserve single barrels from Warehouse G are supposed to be amazing. Now I gotta look. Warehouse B, I didn't get the good stuff.
Oh man, the Kentucky Hug on 4 is intense.
I'm right there with you actually on that. Right down, it's the acid reflux is going to be acting up later tonight.
Well, you had freaking lasagna, so
The lasagna, the whiskey, it's not going to be a good night for me. Tums is going to be my friend tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I can feel it the whole way down. That one,
Keep
him right by the bedside, right?
Yes, sir. Oh man. So the nose on 4 to me, definitely get that sweet brown bread, kind of like a banana-y vibe. It's like nutty and banana-y. It really makes me think like Barton. It's either Barton or maybe, like I said, it could be like Jack Daniel's something, but I don't think so. It could also be like a Woodford Double Oak, but it's with the banana forwardness of this, I'm thinking 1792.
Or is spicy for me. That's got to be like some high rye for me. High rye. It's got to be higher proof.
Nate says could be Old Forester.
Little banana. I've heard people getting I heard usually more cherry for Old Forester, but I've heard people definitely a Tennessee whiskey if you're talking banana, like a Jack Daniel's, like you mentioned.
The thing that throws me off is the palate, though. It doesn't taste like Tennessee whiskey.
But you only have two options, right? Dickel and Jack.
Yeah, they're smaller guys, but pretty much, yeah. Shout out to
Blue Note. Blue Note is Tennessee. Is that Memphis?
I don't remember where it is, but I think you're right. Yeah, it's Tennessee. But I was gonna say, shout out to Fawn Weaver and Uncle Nearest. They're making some very good Tennessee whiskey.
So Uncle Nearest, I actually have a friend whose aunt knows the owner of Uncle Nearest. And I'm very interested in either one, meeting with him personally, or two, just diving deeper into the story behind Uncle Nearest, because I'm very interested in it, but it's one of those things, they're not bourbons, so I would have to kind of change. Not that I haven't done non-bourbons, but
I thought they do some bourbon.
They might have recently released a bourbon, but I think they're like original Uncle Nearest 18 whatever it is a whiskey, if I'm correct.
No.
The stuff that you see on the shelves more often.
1856 was the one that I really liked. Yeah, it's not a bourbon. It is a whiskey.
It's a whiskey. Which isn't a problem. I've done whiskeys, I've done ryes.
Well, it's a great product, and the story is great behind it. I love a good story, but I buy whiskey for one reason. Do I like drinking it? And when I had that 1856, I was like, really, wow, surprised. That was a hell of a product. Have to pass on Uncle Nearest in Canada. Stupid pricing here. That's unfortunate.
Anthony Moore, what's going on?
Yeah,
Chef Ant in the house. If you guys are interested in any type of food or barbecue or anything, Blackyard Barbecue on Instagram. Chef Ant makes some amazing food, and I hate following him because every time I see the food, I'm just like, why can't I make this? And it's one of those things that I don't have a smoke or anything. I'm real big into barbecue, but I just I can't mentally take the time to do it myself. One, because I know I'll take 8 hours and I'll mess it up, and then I'll be pissed at the end of the day. And two, because I don't have the patience for it. But if you want to follow an Instagram account and see some really good barbecue, Chef Ant has some really good stuff. Again, Blackyard Barbecue.
By the way, you definitely need to take Tom up on his offer to get you samples of FAE 1 and 2.
Who's sending me samples of what?
Tom Burns. He's offering to send you samples of FAE 1 and 2. The two. I
would definitely be interested, because I'm not going to spend what is Maker's Mark FAEs going for right now, $65-$70.
You can find them at retail, yeah.
If you can find them at retail. So I'm not going to spend $140 to compare the two. I can promise you that. But I would be interested to see how they compare. Again, I don't think I would like them myself, but I'd be interested in seeing how the different staves. So I did something, like I said, the store picks are very similar in the process. Now, obviously, they're not the exact staves from FAE1 and FAE2, but you get 5 staves and you get to pick how many of each staves you want to age for an additional 9 weeks or whatever they do for the FAE process. But I did a fine wine and good spirits pick versus a New Jersey pick, the Benesh Liquors pick, and they're both good. I think fine wine and good spirits was better because they put a little bit more sweetness into it. That's the only thing.
I'm gonna get serious here. I'm getting serious about that.
Number 4 to me is throwing me off.
Honestly, that's why I put it in the lineup. I'm not kidding. I put it in number 4 because I'm like, this is gonna be a real left turn.
So originally when I drank, it's high proof. It's 100% high proof because if I've already had 5 drinks tonight and I can still get an ethanol kick on it, you know that it's a high proof. So I'm going high proof. I'm nervous because I said 120 for the Maker's Mark and it was only 110. And I think to me, that's considered quote unquote close, but I feel like 10 proof is definitely a lot still. But again, this is giving me that, it's giving me that Kentucky hug. Ooh, all the way down. It hurts. The one thing that I'm getting off this, which you're talking about that banana-y finish that you're getting off for, I'm thinking like a peanut finish off of my 4, which makes me want to go Jim Beam somewhere. So I haven't had the 120 proof of the Knob Creek lineup. All of my Knob Creek stuff is the 100 proof. Now I know there's a 100 proof of basically each version, the 9, the 12, and the 15 year. And I almost want to say it's like a high proof, like 120 proof Knob Creek. Because of that nuttiness.
Mm. And this,
Is it bothering you?
I know this. I know I keep saying that, but a couple of times I was right.
A couple, 3 for 3 right now. I'm saying Knob Creek, 120 proof. I really like it. So I'm going to say it's the 12 year. I think there's a 120 proof 12 year out there, if I'm correct. And the 12 year is my favorite of the 3 Knob Creeks. I call the 120 or the 12 year the Goldilocks of the Knob Creek lineup because 9's like just missing something. 12 or 15 is just way too old for me. Way too much oak.
Yeah.
12 is just right.
Oh, okay. Come on. They like green apple.
It's gonna bother me. I've had this before.
Little cherry.
I'm cheating. Well, he's thinking I'm cheating. I'm gonna see if I can get this. This peanut is throwing me off, but I know I have peanuts in my.
Can't change. A little bit of lemon
100%.
zest.
This is a Jim Beam product. Has to be.
Definitely toasted oak.
Oops. This is a Jim Beam product. And it's a high proof Jim Beam product. So we have 2 options. For high proof, we have 3 options that I personally have had, that I personally know of.
Damn it.
We have 3 options for a high proof Jim Beam. So I'm going to go, damn, is this Baker's? Is this Baker's 7? This is Baker's 7. It's Knob Creek or it's Booker's. And those are the only high proof 3 Jim Beam products that I know of. But I'm very, very concerned that I'm wrong. Where'd you get the nosing kit? Off Etsy. If you go to my YouTube channel and go to the videos and start, I have 2 nosing kit videos as of right now. I think the link is in both of them. It's a little while ago. You'll have to scroll.
Can you still hear me? Okay.
You're a little funky.
I'm leaning back. How about this?
No, it's like stuttering. Sounds like you're gargling almost.
That's fun.
Right.
I was worried this might happen. Something popped over there. Is it bad?
It's not great.
All right, hold on a second here.
So on my number 4, I'm gonna push into number 5 here because we're pushing 10 o'clock. Number 4, I'm right in Knob Creek 120. Still a little choppy. Ooh. Take your time. See if this works for now. Number 4, I'm going Knob Creek. No, number 4, I'm going. Let me make sure I have this. You back there?
You hear me?
Yeah, still a little choppy.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to. Let me try one other thing here.
Number 4, I'm still going Knob Creek. No, I'm gonna change it to Baker's. I'm gonna change it to Baker's 7 for number 4. It's definitely Jim Beam for number 4.
That's still choppy.
Yep.
Damn it. Okay.
It's not awful if you want to call out your last 2 guesses and we can just end the night on that.
Yeah, I hate to do that.
Sounds like you're an auto-tune or something.
Let me try moving to. Let me just try one other thing here.
Number 5 is high proof too. Like number 5 is making my eyes water. Number 5 smells funky.
How about that?
Much better.
Okay, let's just go with that.
Let's go with that. Whatever works. Number 4, my guess is it's Jim Beam, but I'm gonna switch it from Knob Creek 120 to Baker 7. I think it's higher. I think it's higher than 107 proof, which makes me nervous. I'm gonna keep it at Knob Creek 120. It's definitely higher than 107 proof. I'm gonna keep it at Knob Creek 120 for number 4.
Okay, I'm gonna say on number 4, I was torn between Old Forester and 1792, but more on the nose it's 1792, but on the taste it's Old Forester. So I'm gonna say it's Old Forester. I don't know. I feel like it's not super high proof, so I'm going to say it's an Old Forester single barrel, one of the old versions, either at 90 or 100. I'll say 90, and I really like it, so I'm going to put it at $70.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't know what the Knob Creeks even run these days.
Easy to do with bourbon. It's easy to forget about money.
I'm gonna say 65. For the Knob Creek 12. I think that's what the 120 proof runs around.
Yeah.
But I think it's a Knob Creek 12 120 proof. And it's definitely high proof, so it's 120 plus easily. Because again, this late in the game, if I can get that taste, I'm gonna switch one more thing. I'm gonna see if this works. You guys can still hear Kyle, right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I've been nervous, so I have like different views set up that I set through my Streamlabs, but I'm nervous to change them because I don't know if the audio is going to work, but it seems to be working. So now when you talk, it'll be a little bit more.
Oh, shit. Number 5. That's a good nose. Now we're really in my wheelhouse with that. What did you do? What did you send me?
I gave you something good for that one.
I know right away. I know I'm going to have to send you another care package just by smelling this thing. Oh, I almost get like cherry cough drop there for a split second. It's really like minty and cherry. And the first nosing was like really strawberry, blueberry. Oh, there's a lot of good things happening on this one, guys. If you haven't invested in a bourbon wheel,
Oh, I love the wheels.
I recommend them. I recommend them because I'm sitting here like smelling and pulling a lot of things, but then I look down and I'll pull even more. Like, that's not on the wheel, but I saw black pepper, and then my mind went, "Oh wait, that's blackberry." Doesn't even have to be on the wheel. Sometimes you just see something and it'll trigger a different memory. Oh, okay. I gotta taste this. This smells delicious.
I think four might be my new favorite of these four.
Yeah.
5, I'm still up in the air on.
Ooh, that's a high proofer.
5 is definitely high proof still. That was the first thing I wrote down. And it's funky. There's a funky taste to this. I don't know if I love it or if I hate it. Like there's some where I'm like, all right, yeah, I can probably dig that, and then there's others where I'm like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing that I got off number 3 with like, I don't think this is for me.
Mm.
It burns a lot. Even on the nose, like it makes the fucking
I don't care.
pieces in your nose stand up.
I always try to modulate my swearing on other people's streams, but
Just for YouTube, right? To keep the algorithm in your favor.
Well, I swear a lot, so
Yeah.
I can't help myself.
I guess it's late night now. You know, past 10 o'clock. This is Bourbon After Dark now.
Well, you know I'm an attorney, so I read the rules.
Right.
I read the rules. I know what YouTube demonetizes and what they don't. And you can swear. I can say fuck, but there are certain rules about how often and in what contexts.
Right.
And
Makes more sense.
It's silly, but all the rules you can.
Mama Bourbon of the Week went to bed anyway, so we're good at this
there
point.
you go.
This is tough because I don't want to say that I don't like number 5, but I don't like number 5. But I also feel like this is where I get nervous. This is where I get my own head. Because in my mind, I sent you two pretty decent bottles for 4 and 5. Because I wasn't sure if we were going to do them on stream or not. So now I'm at the point where he probably sent me 2 decent bottles for 4 and 5. Which is why I'm thinking like a Knob Creek 120 12 year would be a pretty damn good bottle to send. But what is this one? This is another high proof. It's got flavor. It's definitely got a lot of flavor. It tastes like an uncut, unfiltered thing, and I keep saying that just because I recently did a smoke wagon, but it tastes like it's definitely a barrel strength or a barrel proof bourbon. But the question is what?
I can tell I'm losing it. I'm losing my touch. I can feel it.
Are you?
Yeah, because I'm really struggling with this number 5. Really struggling.
Now, I'm super nervous about this because again, I'm getting the same vibes on this that I got on 3, but I was super wrong on 3 because it was a wheated bourbon. And I called out Elijah Craig barrel proof on number 3.
Yep.
Do I have more of number 3? I do. But it wouldn't be crazy to think that number 5 is an Elijah Craig barrel proof. Can I go out on a limb and say that I messed up with number 3 and it's actually number 5?
I don't know. You gotta make a final decision.
I don't know now. I'm gonna pour up a little bit more. Actually, I have a little bit more of number 3 here.
Man.
Ooh. 3 next to 5, you can definitely tell that 3 is a wheated bourbon when you put it next to 5.
Hmm.
Just off the nose alone, you get those weeded notes.
I'm gonna guess that 5 is older. I think 5 is the oldest yet, because I get a long oaky finish. Black pepper lingers for a while. It's very sweet and soft up front. It has tons of fruitiness on the
Older than the
nose.
8-year? Older. What was the oldest one I've sent you so far?
Oldest one
The,
you sent me so far was the 8-year.
the 8-year, right?
So I think this is maybe closer to 10.
I'm guessing again. I'm guaranteeing that you sent me an Elijah Craig barrel proof, and I think this is number 5. ECBP number 5. My guess. I got to get one of these right.
Man, what's this is gonna drive me crazy. I just gotta put something on there. We've been on here for a minute. I know I just gotta get the answer down, but
Hopefully Kyle slipped some of that barrel proof seagrass in there on his shelf. What do you think of that seagrass? Because I've heard nothing but good things.
I've heard nothing but good things, and when I tasted it, I didn't care for it.
I'm gonna be the same way, and I hate that.
And so, well, what I'm doing is I'm giving it a chance to open up. I've had I'll probably have another ounce or two out of it here in a bit. I'm gonna let it open up some more because a lot of times for me, the first couple of pours are not what the rest of the bottle is like, and I really can distinguish that that neck pour. So I'm thinking that the reason it didn't taste right for me is because it hasn't opened up yet.
I don't like 5. And I'm really sorry if it's something that I'm supposed to like. And that's what makes me nervous. You're going to be like, oh, it's this Russell's Reserve pick that I got at a local store. I'll be like, damn. That's not good. 4 is Knob Creek 120. 5 is Elijah Craig barrel proof. I messed up on the first 3. I got close on a couple things on the first 3, but that's where I'm at.
Shit.
My guess is Kyle sent you OF 150th as number 5. If this is OF 150, do you have an OF 150, right? It's up there on the shelf. I see it.
I have 2.
Yeah, down there on the shelf, I guess I should say, behind you on the left.
Yeah.
If that's OF 150, I will never buy an OF 150. I promise you. You have my word, Nathan.
It's not OF 150.
Okay, thank the Lord, because I love OF. I'm a big Old Forester fan. If that was OF 150, I would probably stop drinking all bourbon from here on out.
All right, number 5. I'm going to say it's 110 proof. I'm going to say it's 11 years old. I'm going to say it's $100.
ECBP, I'm trying to think. What is that? Like 127? I want to say 127 proof.
So frustrating because I know this profile. I've had this because, oh wait, I'm doing the dollars for me. That's 100 is not for me. I'm going to say 60. And even if it's more expensive, this is not because I've talked about this on my channel before. I have these situations where the pour smells like fruity candy and I love a fruity bourbon, and then I taste it and it doesn't have that at all. It's nutty and not sweet and oaky. And that's kind of what I'm getting with 5. And it's very good, but I got that nose and then I'm disappointed by the palate. It's that expectation problem. If it didn't smell like that, I'd be like, wow, this is amazing.
Right. I'm kind of there on 5 where like same thing with me on 5 is I think it's priced higher than what I want it to be. So I put $45 for 5. And I think that it's a barrel proof. I think it's a high proof barrel proof. And I think it's probably in that $75 to $85 range. I'm putting $45 is what I would pay for it. Because it has a funk, and I wrote down funky. I wrote high proof and funky, and that's usually 2 words that I use to describe Elijah Craig barrel proof. And I'm nervous because I tried to describe that for number 3. Number 3 was also high proof and funky now that I'm thinking about it, so I don't feel too bad about it.
You have... I don't want to ask that. I don't want to ask that. Whatever you think it is,
I don't have it.
All right, fair enough. Well, I'm going to up the proof to 120. Okay.
I like 4 though. 4 is my favorite of all 5. If we're gonna rank all 5, I'm gonna put 4 number 1, 2 number 2, 1 number 3, 3 number 4, and 5 number 5. If that makes any sense to anybody listening, because I'm the only one that has it written down over here. So to everybody else, that's just a bunch of numbers being numbers. But that's where I put mine.
I'm changing some things.
Change it up.
Number 4, I'm getting rid of the Old Forester. I think that's a Woodford Double Oak. And I'm gonna say I think it's like 90 proof. I don't remember what it is. 90. Yeah, it's 90-ish, 90.4.
I was gonna say
and then number 5, I'm just sipping them right out of these. Number 5, yep. I'm sticking with 120. It's got that fruity up front. Man, that is Buffalo Trace, I think. But what product? Would that be a... Shoot. I don't know. We never said we were going to actually do the bottle, so I'm just going to say Buffalo Trace. I'm just convinced that fruity nose is just got Buffalo Trace written all over it. And I can't put my finger on the palate. It could be Old Forester, but I don't think so. All right.
I want to know, before we say anything, I want to know what you sent me for number 5.
Number 5?
Number 5.
Ready?
I'm not ready. Actually, hold on. Let me try it one more time. Funky and high proof. Funky and high proof.
What proof?
I put it at 132 at the end of the day.
Pretty good. 135.2.
Okay, so it's a barrel proof.
Yes,
Is it Elijah Craig barrel proof?
It is Elijah Craig barrel proof A119.
Yeah. A119. Oh, yes. It's funky. Damn, I just got here on the first mention of Woodford Double Oak. Makes me want to pour some out. You should absolutely pour up some Woodford Reserve Double Oak. Elijah Craig barrel proof. A119. I don't have the 119. I started in 120, I think.
119 is the recent favorite of a lot of people. And you know what? Because I've already decided I'm going to send you a little gift bag here. I'm going to send you some of my personal favorite Elijah Craig, because my thinking is if there is any Elijah Craig barrel proof that I think you will like, it's this one. And I've had
tell me, or you're gonna wait until you send it?
I'm not gonna even label them. I'm gonna send you a blind for
another blind.
You can do it on your own time. You can do it in a video. Do it whenever you want. But one of them, I will tell you, is going to be Elijah Craig, and I think you will actually like it.
That's not good.
Okay.
The 119. Now, what you sent me might be delicious. Now you go and you do number 4 for you that I sent you.
Okay.
I think you're gonna like this one. This is the one you liked.
I mean, I liked both of them. This was a tasty one. This is the one I said was Woodford Double Oak. Okay, it is further down. I'm rolling. All right, here we go. Oh, really? Basil Hayden toasted. Okay, so I got the fact that it was toasted.
Yeah.
That I got. That's why I changed it to Double Oak, because I was like, this is a toasted barrel for sure. But man, I would have never guessed. What's the proof on Basil Hayden toasted? Is that listed here?
80 proof. 80 proof, just like everything else Basil Hayden puts out.
So I said it was 90 proof.
And that's why it's not good.
Well, yeah, a lot of people shit on this pour, and I mean, it really is the proof point, but like, honestly,
I'm not a big fan.
Given how negatively people spoke of it, I'm pretty happy with it. I like it.
Do you like it for, what did you put the price for?
70.
70, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's
You're
pretty
a Basil
high.
Hayden toast guy, which isn't a problem with me at all. I'm glad you found that out about yourself.
I am too, because people were really racking on it, but I liked it.
Hot take. I'm a fan of the Toasty Boy. Yeah.
There you go.
That's not a problem with me.
There are a lot of people out there that are just proof chasers.
100%.
And you know, a lot of times I like lower proof stuff in the right context. And that right there, part of the reason I went double oaked was I could tell it was lower proof, and it was sweet and desserty and toasty. Yep. And that's exactly what I want from one of those bourbons. And That's something I often get from those toasty is a little bit of that like sweet banana. I assumed it was the distillate, but I think it might actually be the toasted barrel. That's something
Could
that
be.
pops up for me. All right, number 4
Number
for
4
you.
for me. I said
Now
Knob
this-
Creek 12 year, 120 proof though.
All right, it's 125 proof.
Okay, so it's not Knob Creek.
It's not Knob Creek, it's Booker's. 125.9 proof.
Bookers. I called out Bookers.
Now,
too.
this is Teresa's batch, 2019-01. And the reason I sent Teresa's batch is a lot of people who like bean products don't like Teresa's batch.
I love
and I
it.
think it's because they haven't put it in a blind.
I love
If you
it.
compare it to all the different Bookers, it's an obvious standout. It's different. It's weird because it's so herbal. And it feels out of place in the Booker's lineup. But if you put it in a blind with other products that are not Booker's, it's really good.
So I've only had one Booker's. I've only had the Granny batch. I just got the 2021-03, which will be a new review coming up this Christmas. But this one is pretty damn good. I didn't hate it. I just actually spilled some in my eyeball, which is not where you want bourbon.
No! Oh
You gotta
no!
have contacts in.
Well,
This isn't bad at all. I don't know why people wouldn't like. What's supposed to be like the standout part? Because you still get nuttiness. There's definitely still nuttiness on this.
It's people don't like that it's not as sweet as a lot of Bookers are. I
still think it's pretty sweet.
And it's very herbal.
Definitely can get some herbal notes on this.
Yes, and I actually like that, but it's one of those things that's almost like you can't put your mind in a Booker's context, right?
I guess if I were to put this against 3 or 4 other Bookers, it might stand out, but I think that's pretty damn good.
Oh, I think it's tasty stuff. I really do. I like that.
It's my number 1 of these 4, with a very close second to that Old 55, which is crazy because that's a local distillery / local place.
Oh, and then number 5, I freaking knew it. I got the proof
Elmer
all
T. Lee,
wrong.
isn't it? Did I send you the
Elmer?
Yep.
I knew it was Buffalo Trace.
90
but I'm like,
proof.
that hits a lot higher than 90.
It does hit a little hot for 90 proof, especially for a Buffalo Trace product.
Well,
which
and part of it,
sips.
Single barrels are all chaos.
Right.
Single barrels, who knows what that particular barrel is going to be like, and that barrel sips really hot.
Yeah, it definitely sips hot. I definitely agree with you on that.
I knew it was. That's very vindicating because I love Buffalo Trace. I knew that's what was happening here. I'm like, which one is it?
Nathan says, Kyle, was that Old 55 your pick? It was his pick. He sent it to me in my number 2, which was actually my favorite up until I tried the Bookers. And I'm a big Jim Beam. I'm a big Bookers fan myself. And it's delicious. And then MC says it's 2021-03 Bardstown. Does Jim Beam doesn't get anything from Bardstown, do they?
Well, their most recent batch is called Bardstown batch. I think that's 2021-04.
Now I gotta look. Does it say it says it on the label or no?
Yeah, it'll say on the label what the batch is. I'm pretty sure that 2021-03 is not Bardstown, but I could be wrong. It's hard to keep track. It is Bardstown batch.
It is Bardstown.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought they did 4 this year. No, so I will say on the Old 55 I sent you, I did not send you my pick. So I have several single barrels from Old 55. One of them is one I actually went and picked with a group called the Indiana Bourbon. It's not Indiana Bourbon Company. It's they just call it Indiana Bourbon. And I sent you a different pick, a pick from Vine and Table, a local liquor store. But I have several of those picks, but they are very tasty. And Nate noted that the pick that I did has a bubblegum root beer taste, which is definitely there, but is not there in some of the other picks.
So when we're saying that's 2021-03 is Bardstown pick, it's not from Bardstown Distillery, correct? Like, am I getting confused here?
No. So with the Booker's batches, they always like have a name with each batch, and they
I
have
had
a
a
story.
Granny's batch. They had the pigskin batch. They had the.
So I'm not sure why they call it the Bardstown batch. I haven't checked. Okay, we got some details here in the chat.
I love it.
They're on MC, so supposedly the family lived there for a while, so it's more related to the family home than the distillery itself. That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Somebody described Booker's as um, putting Knob Creek single barrels into wine bottles and then writing poems and putting them in the
That's fair.
boxes. And I thought that was really funny and also kind of fair.
I feel like people. I definitely agree with the current rise of the price for it. So I've currently bought 3 bottles of Booker's. I've
Yeah,
currently bought 2 bottles of Booker's. I've tried a third bottle of Booker's, and it started out at like $60. And now in
yeah,
Pennsylvania, they're up to 95. I got my '03 here for 81 on sale from a friend who again went to either New Hampshire or Connecticut. I forget where it was. But
yeah.
81's not a bad price for it. But I think $80 is a fair price for it. 95, 100. We're definitely pushing that realm of unobtainable whiskey.
I'm pretty comfortable around 75.
Yeah.
If it's 75 out the door, I'm happy to buy it.
Yeah,
But
but
you
85,
know,
95 is
I mean, you can see I've got a whole row of them up here.
right.
There you go. You
There
can
they
see.
are.
I
Yep.
mean, but I haven't bought several of the recent batches. The same reason you talked about not buying the recent Elijah Craig's is that the most recent batches seem to be a drop in quality for me and an increase in price. And I'm like, I don't know if I can justify that
I
anymore.
feel like that's something going across the board in
Oh,
bourbon right now
absolutely.
because they know that no matter what they put out, if they have the name behind it, yeah, you're gonna piss off a couple of the people who have been in it for a while, the older generation. But you've also
Sure.
got now 10 times more people who are new to bourbon who are just like, oh,
Right.
birthday bourbon, I have to have it. Old
Right.
Forester this or
And
Jim
they'll
Beam
pay
that.
whatever it
They'll pay
takes.
whatever it takes. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to drive the market until enough
Yeah.
people start talking about the quality, which is what I love about Buffalo Trace doing now. Now we can talk all day, and I can talk till I'm blue in the face about Buffalo Trace's marketing techniques
Yeah.
and their distilling techniques, whether or not they're holding back product to put a limited demand out there to raise demand or limited supply
Yeah.
to raise demand because we all know how economics works, or if they said GTS 2021 wasn't good enough, we're not going to put it out, or did they say GTS 2021 isn't good enough, we're going to put out Stag 2021 instead, drop the junior, and now we have the first release of Stag, which is actually GTS 2021 that wasn't good enough, but now everybody wants the first release of Stag 2021. They're definitely the smartest company when it comes to marketing, and I wouldn't put anything past
Yeah.
them, but I don't want to
Yeah.
hold that to them.
I the crunch with whiskey is affecting all of the industry, and I think that to me, Buffalo Trace not doing a GTS this year is it's not a coincidence that that happens at the same time that they have started doing their single barrel Stag Junior program.
Right.
You have a limit, there's a limit on how much stuff you have in your warehouses that can be labeled Stag, junior or senior, and that is good enough to put the big price point and the hype around. And so if you start whittling down your supply of Stag Juniors to put into the blend, the single barrel program, then you got to blend it with something. Well, then you're going to blend it with your George T. Stagg stuff. Okay, well then now you're going to have to pull, inferior barrels for your George T. Stagg product. And that was the same reason that they actually only did 3 Bookers this year. Now that I think about it, the Bardstown batch being number 3, they had been doing 4 a year, and the third one they just said we're not going to release it because Wild Turkey didn't like the product. Well, Wild Turkey's been doing a lot of single barrel stuff. They've been doing a lot of special release stuff. They started doing the 13 as a regular part of their product line. There's such a demand right now that the big whiskey companies can't keep up. So, I mean, again, I'll put a nice little bow on it and bring it back to the gift idea. I
There you
mean,
go.
small distilleries, younger products, things that are overlooked, up and coming people. That's where you're gonna find some gems out there, and part of that's because there's so much, like you said, there's so much hype around these big distillery limited releases that people that are new into the game are running after. Great example. I got this sitting right here. Starlight. People don't know about this very much yet. This is taking off.
It
This is
is.
an
It's definitely blowing
Indiana
up.
distillery. This is great product. It's 4 or 5 years old. They do so much fantastic whiskey, and it's relatively available. That's going to start being harder and harder to find. Taconic out of New York, fantastic whiskey. It's going to get harder and harder to find. A lot of these local small batch distilleries are making good stuff,
Right.
and they're competing and sometimes winning against the big guys. That's, I think, the new frontier until the market either calms down or we are able to see the increase in production
Yep.
that these big distilleries have been doing
Which we
bear
hope somebody
fruit in the product.
with another, just always bringing it back to Buffalo Trace, them putting in that whatever it is $21 billion industry, like they're expanding there, which is great. But at the end of the day, no matter how much land development or how much rick development, like how many barrels, they still have to wait a certain amount of years. They can, again, in 10 years that sounds great, but what are you going to do for me now? So
Yeah.
again, like you said, you're going to drop Stag Junior so you can or drop GTS
Yeah.
so that you can bring in the new Stag line, and it all sounds great in theory, but we hope it just can keep up at least with demand.
I mean, if your choice is release inferior products or don't release products and just try to keep your normal line steady, I'm perfectly okay with the latter.
Right.
Don't put George T. Stagg on the label if it's not George T. Stagg. Just don't. I'm totally okay with that. Miss Bourbon of the Week spilled some in your eyeball, though.
Dang, that was like an hour ago. How did she know?
Getting
That's the
roasted
wife.
on the chat.
Usually when the wife comes onto the channel and starts talking, by the way, it's time to call it bedtime. That's normally her way to say, hey, let's wrap it up here. So, not to cut you off, Kyle, I very much appreciate you joining me tonight. But
Absolutely.
with a new baby girl upstairs and my wife telling me I should stop spilling whiskey in my eyeball, we're going to call it a night right there. This was awesome. We're definitely going to do it again. Dusty Dan, who I don't know if he's in the chat or not, we're definitely going to get some sips from him, and we'll do this both on your channel and on my channel with him. In the meantime, though, make sure you check out Kyle on The Drink Pro at Instagram, _ The Drink Pro on TikTok, and
That's right.
what was the third one? We have obviously YouTube. Check him out on YouTube, The Drink Pro.
Everywhere else it's The Drink Pro. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, / The Drink Pro, at The Drink Pro. TikTok, it's _ The Drink Pro. I've got merch, thedrinkpro.com, which is going to be expanding in the near future, the product line. So
Love that.
Lots of fun places. Email me, thedrinkpro@gmail.com. Chat with me. I've got glassware. I'll sell it to you.
Beautiful.
Have a good night.
It's awesome glassware, by the way. Like I said, I have one here. Love the Drink Pro glassware.
Same to you, man.
So again, Kyle, I appreciate you joining me tonight. This was awesome. After his 3-week hiatus, he decided to come back and join us here tonight. So with that, I always like to say, don't drink and drive, drink responsibly, and as always, stay healthy, stay happy, stay drinking. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.